And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeSante Wentworth versus Bacho, step forward, please.
35-year-old homemaker Jessica DeSante Wentworth is suing her sister, 36-year-old nurse Lori Bacho, and her husband Frank Bacho. Jessica says after her 11-year-old daughter was hit by a bus, the couple held a fundraiser and kept the money.
Miss Wentworth, the defendant is your sister and the co-defendant brother-in-law?
Yes.
According to what I've read, you have a daughter
Yes,
who
I
was
do.
in an automobile accident?
Bus accident, actually.
Bus hit her?
Yes.
And you had a lot of medical bills and expenses.
Yes.
Your sister and her husband decided that they would hold a fundraiser.
Correct.
That's correct.
To help pay her expenses.
Yes, they
help
did.
You out. And they did. What kind of fundraiser was it?
We had a benefit at a bar that we have a lot of friends at, and it was we just had food and raffles and 50-50s and entertainment, things like that.
And how much money did you raise?
$1,017.
Did you put that money in a bank account?
No.
What'd you do with it?
We tried to. I asked for her, my niece's Social Security number, and I wasn't allowed to have it.
So what did you do with the money?
I was given to an aunt of mine, which I have a statement from her stating that she received the money on December 3rd and how much it was, and she had it and she kept it.
Your lawsuit says you want the money.
Yes. Well, it's for my daughter. I think she deserves to have it.
How old is your daughter?
She's 11.
What do you mean you think she should have it?
Well, the fundraiser was for her and her medical expenses and whatever she needed. The accident did put me out of work, so therefore I'm surviving on my child support. She needs a lot of medical care. She goes to the doctor once a week. She needs prescriptions. She needs pain
Does
medicine.
she go to school?
No, she's tutored at home.
Now she's tutored at home.
She's been tutored at home since December.
What kind of medical bills do you have for her? Don't talk to me about you. Tell me what you have for her.
For her, I have $86,000 worth of medical bills for her.
Unreimbursed medical bills.
Yes.
She has a
And-
lawsuit other than...
Yeah, she's
that
suing the people that hit her, and that's where the $86,000 is. The
Exactly.
things that we raised the money for was basically for small needs, prescriptions,
Right, for
any
Katie.
kind of cotton swabs, stuff like that.
Exactly,
But
for
I told her
Katie, not
straight
you.
up in the beginning.
Just a second. Miss Wentworth, you're not entitled to this money. Let
I
me
know,
explain
my
something.
daughter is.
You're not entitled to this money.
I'm not asking it for me.
Good. And you didn't raise this money.
Yes, I did help raise that money, actually. We put out 5 collection jars in the town of Riverside and Delanco, which funded the benefit.
No, it didn't.
The only thing that Mr. Bacho paid for was the basket of cheer, which cost $65.
Okay.
He paid for that.
Fine.
Everything else came from the baskets that we collected
I told
money from.
anybody that was making anything or anything that they had
We
to
had a
do
lot
with
of
the
our friends
benefit.
make food.
Yes, a lot of
And
people
I had
donated
them
things.
give-
I
I
had
said-
2
Just a second.
delicatessens.
One, listen to me. I don't think that the defendants want to use the money for themselves. That's my sense.
Exactly.
Exactly.
What I think that they want to ensure is that the money is used
For Kitty.
for your daughter.
Exactly.
Neither one of you is entitled to this money.
I know that.
Good. So I'm going to come up with a solution for you.
Okay.
Very good. We're going to put this money in a bank account for your daughter.
That's fine.
And the 3 of you will be on that account in addition to your daughter, which means that no one can withdraw any money from that account
Okay.
without
Everybody's signature.
everybody's signature. And if you're smart, you're going to leave that $1,017 in there for the next 8 years until she's ready to go to school.
It'll stay
and
there.
maybe by that time, it'll be $2,000.
Right.
Isn't that a good idea?
That's
Now, I
fine.
assume you have a lawsuit, as your brother-in-law says, with regard to this accident that
Yes,
your
I do.
daughter was involved in. And I'm sure she will be coming into a substantial amount of money as a result of a settlement.
Yes, it's going into a trust fund.
Who do you live with?
I live with Ron Berger. He's my fiance.
Does Ron Berger work?
Yes, he does. He has his own business.
Good. What kind of business does he have?
He's in the carpet business. He has a shop, home store.
And you have one child?
I have 4 children.
Is your 11-year-old the oldest or the youngest?
She's the second youngest,
And how old is the youngest?
7.
Your daughter requires full-time care.
Yes, she does.
Does she have anyone other than you providing that care?
No, besides Ron.
Is there any visiting nurse that comes
No.
in to give
No.
her or anything
I
else?
take care of her myself.
Okay. What's the nature of her injury now?
She has 6 metal rods in her leg. I have pictures if you'd like to see them.
No, just tell me.
She has an exterior fixator on her right leg. She uses a walker and a wheelchair. She's due to have an operation for the pins to come out in a couple weeks, then she'll go into a half a body cast for the next 2 months, and then she'll start rehab to walk.
All right, so their injury was really to this one leg.
Yes.
I see.
Yes, it is.
Okay, no other parts of her body were affected, so that she's going to have a recovery.
No. Yeah, she's
So
going to be fine.
Well, that's a good thing. So put the money in the account. When your daughter is 18, it's a trust account.
That's
daughter's
fine.
18, get the money. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Fine.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of AG versus Horry, step forward, please.
Rebecca Agee and her fiancé James Crane are suing their former friends Scott Horry and his wife Sarah for moving expenses and the value of personal property. The Horrys are countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
Mr. and Mrs. Agee, you and the defendants had been good friends. According to you, you were living in Oregon. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And both couples decided that they would be better off in their lives if they relocated to Iowa. Now, who came from Iowa?
We did, Your Honor.
So you agreed to sort of split the costs of moving and travel together. And once you got to Iowa, Mr. and Mrs. Horry were going to help you find a job. I don't know whether you were going to live together, but hopefully you would both live happily ever after in Iowa.
Okay.
Well, it didn't work out that way. And according to you, things turned sour on the trip. You claimed that the Horrys owe you for expenses, property that they kept, mental anguish, and you also want them to pay for your trip back from Iowa to Oregon because it didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
They say that they thought everything went along just fine. They have a counterclaim because they say that you aggravated them.
Breathe.
Breathe. All right. Let me hear it succinctly.
We thought that they were really good friends of ours when we met them. We moved into 10 Mile, Oregon, and they were our neighbors, and we invited them over many times for
Okay,
everything.
let's cut to the chase. You decided to move to
Okay.
Iowa with them.
We moved to Iowa with them. When we got to their home in Iowa, they were rude to us. They put us in a small room with 2 cat boxes. I also have he's almost 8 months old now, my son. When we got there, we had no money. They were supposed to pay us for half of the U-Haul. And
Which
they
was how
said,
much?
$117.50. And they said that we owed them money instead.
What did they owe you money for?
We paid for everything, including the trailer. We agreed upon that we would also give them a place to stay, give them a job, and we did all of that. Above and
That's not
beyond,
true, Your Honor.
when they had reached Colorado, when they ran out of money, I had gone
They
up-
ran out of money in Colorado.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. His parents helped them out to get gas, and they came up to Wyoming
And met
finally
us where we
and
were
met us
supposed to
there.
meet.
Did you need to borrow some money from his parents? That's easy to find out, so just answer my question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much money did you take from his parents?
Somewhere around
$33.
You mean the two of you were traveling with a new baby with absolutely no money? Now, wouldn't it have been more prudent to stay in Oregon and save a little more money? Save $500, $1,000. Save it up so that you're not driving around with an 8-month-old baby with no money.
We had the money, ma'am. We ended up paying for the U-Haul. Mr. Horry paid for the deposit on the U-Haul.
Are you saying $117? Is that what
No.
you're talking
That's
How
half
much?
of it.
That's half of it. The full amount was $230 something, I believe.
Yes.
We would have had the full amount if they would have given us the money when we got there to make it all the way.
You're just not following me.
I'm sorry.
That's a big trip to make.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
unless things are so terrible in Oregon that you weren't surviving there.
We were hoping for a brand new start, something new. They guaranteed him a job when
You
we got
can't
there.
guarantee anything. No, you don't rely on anybody for anything.
Yeah, we've learned that the past
Well, you
couple
don't.
of months.
All right. His parents gave you $30 for gas. Did you ever pay him back?
No.
Okay.
We haven't made it that far
Okay.
yet.
What's next?
When they reached Cheyenne, Wyoming, I went up to Becky, knowing they had no money left, and said, "Would you rather me pay for the rest of your gas to get to Iowa since you have no more money left?" And that was the new agreement.
Okay. And
I
you had
looked
no
at
money for
her.
just a second. And you had no money for gas.
Right.
So how much did you pay for gas for their car?
Approximately around $200. And we also were paying for food, which was a new agreement, so we had no problem with that.
And we
What
are
was the
not
new-
suing for that.
Okay. So it's clear to me you had no money
Yes, Your Honor.
because you had to borrow $30 from his parents. And how many days were you on the road after you borrowed $30 from his parents?
Less than a day.
Less than a day.
And then you got to the house?
No, we met in Cheyenne and we
Okay.
drove.
How many days was it
We
that
were
you
on the
lived
road.
in the house?
We were there for a little over 24 hours.
How much did you spend in gas? I'm trying to figure out if we've used up this $117.
We have
Yes.
receipts, Your Honor.
I'm asking you,
From what point, Your Honor? I don't understand.
from the
question.
point you ran out of money.
We ran out of money in Longmont to
How did
Iowa.
you eat? Who fed you?
We stopped for food once with them. And
What
that
about
was
when
it.
you got to the house? You said they put you
They
in a
had
room.
no food at
They
the
had-
house.
Yeah.
They
They
had
had no
no
electricity.
electricity. We had to clean out the refrigerator.
Just a second. So how did you eat that day?
We didn't.
We went and bought them Pizza Hut.
Yes, we
We
had
bought
Pizza Hut.
them a whole bunch of food. The very next day, we also went out and bought them a big barbecue to have food, and we provided their baby with formula.
Does any of that sound right? You had no money.
No, ma'am.
How did your baby eat?
I had formula for him when I
Listen,
left
I'm not
Oregon.
bothering with this.
We-
They're not paying for your trip home. They're not paying for any of the moving expenses from Oregon to Iowa. They've already taken care of that. Now, you want to tell me, what about the value of personal property you say they kept? What personal property did they keep?
They pawned our television set and
TV. What happened to their television sets?
Yes, we did pawn it because she gave us every permission to sell all their stuff when they left, because they left and they had no intentions to come back, and she made sure that I
Yes,
kept
we
her
did, Your
green
Honor.
tub. She had a green tub full of personal belongings, like pictures, birthday cards, and stuff like that, that she had said meant so much to her. So I promised her and I swore to her we would not get rid of that stuff.
And for 2 days straight, it was, what do we do with your belongings?
That's
the
not
first
true, Your
night,
Honor.
it was,
he asked me
I don't-
how long I should keep. He should keep it.
the first night, I understand everything was in an outrage. She had said, I don't care what you do with my stuff, just don't get rid of my big green bucket.
Now, how much did you sell the TV for?
Somewhere around $80-some is what we got for it at the pawn shop.
Okay. Now, let me hear your counterclaim.
We're suing because, or countersuing because James had made threats to us, to our vehicles, and
That's
to
not
our
true, Your
home.
Honor.
I don't want to hear
When
you
everything
from
turned
speaking.
violent and he was starting to push his way around, and we had to have him escorted off the property twice.
Your Honor.
Our neighbors.
When was that?
It had to have been in August. I'd say around the 25th.
And you haven't seen him since?
No, we
Your
haven't.
Honor.
Shh, speak not. And you haven't had any contact with him in many months, is that right?
Nope, not except for
What
through
else?
you. And loss of wages is all we're suing
What loss
for.
of wages for what?
We think it is a waste to be here.
You should have said no.
Yeah.
What, no isn't part of your vocabulary?
No?
There you go. Somebody calls you and says, would you like to have your dispute resolved before Judge Judy Scheindlin? And you say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to miss work. There you go.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get nothing.
Ma'am.
Zippo.
That's cool.
I have
Good.
a...
Cool. You get $80 for your TV. And go. Have a happy life. Goodbye.
Parties at
And now the next case.
all parties in the matter of Mercado versus Atkinson. Step forward, please.
9/11 dispatcher Dawn Mercado is suing her former live-in boyfriend, mechanic Jeremy Atkinson, for unpaid rent, utility bills, and unpaid loans. Jeremy says she kicked him out because he didn't get along with her 5-year-old son.
Ms. Mercado, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, and you lived together for a brief period of time in an apartment that you leased together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Something happened. Mr. Atkinson decided to leave, according to you. He left, and you want him to be responsible for the remainder of the lease, at least his portion of the remainder of the lease. In addition, you claim that he used your credit card, made certain charges that you want to be reimbursed for.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Atkinson says that you told him to leave the apartment. You actually kicked him out of the apartment, so why should he be responsible for the rent? And that any charges that he made on your credit card, he paid you for in cash. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. When did you move in together?
He moved into my studio apartment with me in the beginning of May, and we moved into our apartment, which we had a signed lease, on June 15th.
So what happened?
We got along very well until my son was diagnosed with having mixed ADHD. Him and my son had some problems.
How old is your son?
5 years old.
What kind of problems was your son having with Mr. Atkinson, or
They-
vice versa?
They argued constantly.
He argued with a 5-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you arguing with the 5-year-old about?
It's just whenever you'd ask him to do something, he would say he'd do it and then wouldn't go do it. Like clean his room, he wouldn't do that. If you told him to go take a shower, he wouldn't do it. And I just didn't have the patience.
We found that he had a hard time focusing, and that's why he was diagnosed. He went through several psychologists, psychiatrists, family doctors. He's now on medication, and he sees a psychiatrist anywhere from 3 to 4 times a month. He is having a lot of improvement, and he had made the comment to my mom and dad that he thought Mr. Atkinson was a monster and that he was afraid to leave with him. Yeah. I explained to Mr. Atkinson that I was not going to choose between him and my son, that my son was my priority, and that we had several disagreements about that. And it just led to problems between that and financial problems. And I never kicked Mr. Atkinson out. I told him I could no longer support him and that he was welcome to leave.
You said a couple of things that were pretty smart. You said, A, I wasn't going to choose between him and my 5-year-old. That's a no contest. You have to go. I am not finding that by your saying to him, there's the door, he did not take that as, I better get out of here or there's going to be difficulty. He says you threw him out. I think that that's what happened. Whatever, he's not going to pay the rent. Now let's hear about the credit card.
On several occasions, Mr. Atkinson asked to borrow money with the intention that he would pay me back.
Yes, it's true, Your Honor, but the majority of the time, money was reimbursed on my payday in the form of cash, or if I did any side work, she got the money from it.
Is that true?
He would give me cash for some of it, ma'am, but these are the things that he has not reimbursed me for.
Did you keep a running log of how much he spent and how much he reimbursed you when he paid you in cash?
No, ma'am.
Then I'm not getting involved. There is absolutely no way of you determining, at least for me, how much he owes you in the months that he lived there when you had this rather fluid financial arrangement. It's over. You made a mistake. Put a period. Move on. Your parents live close by?
About 30 minutes away, ma'am.
Do they help you?
As when they can.
Good. You have another few months to pay this rent. You're going to stay in the apartment or not?
Yes, ma'am. I cannot get out of the lease.
Good. That's what I think you should do. Goodbye.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Collazo, step forward, please.
21-year-old homemaker Aubrey Davis is suing her sister, custodian Claudia Collazo, for the cost of her son's medical bills. Aubrey says she paid for his treatment after he suffered an epileptic seizure.
Miss Davis, how are you related to the defendant?
She's my sister.
And this is your nephew?
Yes, correct.
Your son?
Yes.
According to your complaint, he was staying with you for a brief period of time. While he was with you, he had a seizure.
Correct.
You suffer from epilepsy?
Yes.
And he was taken to the emergency room. There was a medical bill of over $1,500, and you want your sister to be responsible for that.
Correct.
When did he come to live with you?
July 5th.
Prior to that, where was he living?
I believe he was at Stephanie's house, which is who he's living with now.
Who's Stephanie?
It is his dad's ex-wife. That's as much as I know about her.
Step up here, please. Tell me your name.
Richard Ornelas.
Before you came to live with your aunt in July, who were you living with?
My brother's mom, Stephanie.
How long had you been living with her?
About a year.
And how old were you when you went to live with Stephanie?
15.
Why weren't you living with your mother?
My mom just told me, leave. My mom told me to leave.
But she told you to leave when you were 15?
Yeah.
When did he get sick?
July 6th.
Is that right?
Yes.
You were with your aunt for only one day before you had a seizure?
Yes.
Had you had seizures before?
Yes.
Did you have seizures when you lived with your mom?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down, Richard? You have a copy of the bills?
Yes.
Can I see them, please?
I also have a copy here from the hospital that shows that I never signed. And I asked them for the copy of the law stating that she's responsible for the bills since I didn't sign that paper. And all they gave me was the law. They didn't give me a copy of the actual law.
You took him to the hospital, is that right?
The ambulance took him and I arrived there with them.
Okay, Ms. Collazo. All's in your court. Why are you not responsible for these bills?
January of 2002, Richard moved out of my house. I did not throw him out. I was having problems with him at school. He was arrested. He was in juvie. He didn't want to obey by my laws. I have documentation that that Stephanie had guardianship of Richard since January of 30th of 2002.
Stephanie was married to his father.
I don't know if they were legally married, but they had children.
Okay. That's where he went to live.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And
Where
I
is his
have all
father?
Pardon?
Where's his father?
Where is his father? He lives in Las Vegas.
Okay, go ahead.
I have documentation of everything, of the guardianship papers.
Guardianship doesn't mean that Stephanie is financially responsible for him.
No, but he was living with her at the time.
Yes.
I didn't know that he was living with Aubrey.
Yes.
I received a phone call from Aubrey's husband stating that Richard was in the hospital. And I told him, well, don't have her sign anything. Get a hold of Stephanie. She has guardianship since I live 63 miles out of town.
Well, somebody has to admit him.
I was assumed that he was admitted. He was brought by ambulance. I don't know what was going on. All I had is a phone
Did you
call.
rush to the hospital?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I had no way to get there right then and there.
You don't have a car?
Yes, I have a car, but I did not have a way to get there.
Where was your car?
It was there. It was at home.
So what do you mean you had no way to get there?
Financially, I was not working at that time.
You were an hour away.
Yes. It was late at night.
So, you're in for a rude awakening, madam. Because someone has guardianship of your child,
Right.
that doesn't make them financially responsible for your child.
Okay.
Parents are responsible for the necessaries of a child. Necessaries mean food, clothing, shelter, medical care, sometimes lawyers' fees, and a variety of other things.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't change unless you go to court and have your child emancipated. If your 15-year-old child is emancipated by some judge who's a little nutty, then maybe you won't have financial responsibility for the necessaries. But right now you do. Not her.
Then why did she go in there and do what she did?
What did she do?
She jumped in my business. That's how I feel.
Your son came to our house on July 5th. He was there less than 24 hours and he had a seizure. What would you have suggested that she do, Ms. Collazo?
She did the right thing.
So then what are you complaining about?
Is why I'm being taken to court. Why not
Who's
the
supposed
father?
You could sue the father and say, listen, I had to pay this bill, but you're partially responsible for it too. I'll pay half and you pay half. She doesn't have to go searching for the father who lives in Las Vegas.
Correct.
You do that.
Okay.
If you chose to allow him to leave your home and you chose to allow him to be under the guardianship of a biological stranger, that's within your family. But when it comes to his necessaries, you're not off the hook. If you want to sue his father, go to it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,595. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 1 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Noble. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Walker, you and the defendant leased an apartment together. Is your claim that the defendant locked you out, she kept some of your property, and in addition, she showed around a private letter which caused you embarrassment?
Yeah.
The defendant says that you, in fact, broke the lease to the apartment. She is countersuing for your share of 4 months' rent. She said that she did not lock you out of the apartment. So when did you sign this lease?
It was September 22nd of 2001.
And how did you know the defendant?
I used to work with her, and we were friends.
So tell me when this problem started, around Christmas time?
It was around Christmas time, December 21st of 2001. I had received a phone call, 3 o'clock in the morning, from my mother, stating that she was sick and that she wanted me to come down there to be with her.
Where does she live?
She lives in Virginia.
Where is this apartment that you were living in?
It's in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
The only thing I took with me was my clothes. A few days later, my mom got better, so I was going to come home, and I received a phone call from Josie stating that I am no longer allowed in the house because she thought I moved out.
How many days later?
It had to have been like 4 or 5.
In the
That's
month
not
of
true at
December?
all.
In the month of December.
No.
Okay. Had you paid your share of December's rent?
Yes, I was paid up until January.
None of that is true at
Just
all.
a second, I'm going to get to you in a minute. All right, how much was rent?
It was $240. I paid $240 a month.
Josie, give me your version of what happened.
Let's see, December 20th, I spoke to him on the phone, and I asked him if he had his share of the rent money. And the whole month, I was letting him go with just giving me $40 a week, and we'll just take it up from there, and he'd make it up to me at the end of the month. And when I talked to him, he said that he spent his share on presents. And I never once said that he could never come back to the apartment.
Let's just get you're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting ahead of yourself. Now, what happened? He said he left December 21st. What happened?
He left in the night. I never heard a phone ring at 3 a.m. I would have woken up. He would have woken up.
Well, who's he?
He is my my ex-boyfriend. He was there at the time.
Okay, I don't care whether you heard a phone or you didn't hear a phone. You woke up December 21st, and
I woke up. Well, he woke up to go wake Jamie up to go to work, and he found this note that Jamie left.
Can I see it, please?
That is not my writing.
Oh my God.
I have very sloppy writing. That is not my writing.
Do you have any other writing of the?
I have the copy of the lease that he signed, and I don't know about that.
Well, but he's printing this.
There should be a signature one right above my signature.
Oh, I see. Yes, you're right. I think you wrote this.
I did not write it.
I think you wrote this, Mr. Walker. I'm just looking at the way you not only signed your name here, but printed it on your lease. It's exactly the same as the printing on this. Yes, it is. Okay. So you left.
Yes.
What items do you claim that Miss Noble kept of yours?
Well, she has a computer.
Well, you wrote here the computer is yours, too. You can have my last paycheck. Give this to Dawn as proof. And you also wrote the computer is yours, too.
I did not give her the computer.
Well, that's what you wrote, sir.
But I didn't write that, I'm saying.
Oh, I think you did.
Well, she has a desk of mine, too. A bed. She has some books, CDs.
And when did you try to get back into the apartment, Mr. Walker?
It was right after I got back.
Okay. And you're on the lease?
Yes, I am.
Then you should have been let back into the apartment. Did you go to the police?
No, I didn't know I could.
Of course you did. If you have a lease to an apartment, you're on the lease.
The landlord wouldn't let me back in there either.
No, you go to the police. Put your hand down. I didn't ask for you. You know that you can go to the police if you're locked out of your apartment. Come.
And they had the locks changed, too.
So what? The police go, they knock at the door, they say he has a lease to the apartment, he has the absolute right to be here, to the apartment. You were ready to go home in a couple of days. You go home. So I don't believe you, sir.
He didn't go to Virginia. I have a receipt from my cousin who sent him money while he was in York, PA. I
don't care where he went. I don't believe him. You want to tell me the second part of your lawsuit, sir? Second part of your lawsuit is about a letter.
Yes. Miss Noble had gone through my room with all my stuff, and she had found a personal letter of mine, and she had given it to one of our co-workers, and in which in turn that co-worker had took that letter and spread it around work and customers too.
Tell me about that letter.
After he left that note, we waited a little while. He cleaned out the room, Jamie's room, and we found this little red binder that said, "Don't go through it." So we're going to go through it.
Of course.
And he found the letter, handed it to me, I read it, got a kick out of it, and the girl that I showed, he was going around saying that he slept with her, telling nasty stories about her, and it's like, she wasn't my best friend, but she was like a coworker, and it's affecting her reputation. So we invited her over, we showed her the letter, she said, "Can I keep it?" And I didn't care. And she kept it, gave it back, I don't know what I did.
That's why, Mr. Walker, if you honestly wanted to get back into your apartment, and I don't know where you went, because you had valuable things in there, things that you didn't want shown around, that's why you go to the police and you get all your stuff. When, for the first time, did you decide to get back your stuff?
It was right after I got back.
No.
Which was what month?
December.
In December? So what did you do?
I called her and
So what did you do? Did you go to court? in December? Did you go to court in January or February? What'd you do?
No, I waited because
Why?
she said she was going to take me to court first. And I never got anything back, so I filed
Why
the
should
case.
you? Listen to me,
Because she said she was going to.
Mr. Walker. You're not an unintelligent person, are you?
No.
You locked out of your apartment, you go to the police, you say, I have to get my stuff, my computer, my private
He
stuff.
was
I
never
went
locked out.
away in the middle of the night to help take care of my ailing mother.
He was never locked out. I didn't get the locks changed until about a month ago.
Not even,
And
not even like
what,
2 weeks ago.
what happened was he left a note in my mailbox telling me to call him on a cell phone number. And I told him, why don't you just give me like $500 and I won't go to the cops and I won't go do all this stuff so I can get the rest of my money back because I really wanted to avoid this.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It doesn't give her the right to spread it around work. That's my personal information.
I showed a girl that you lied about.
And later today,
Show me. Well, what do you think you were coming here for? Waltz lessons?
No.
Show me where you had paid off the bills.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jamie Walker says former roommate Josie Noble owes for the return of his belongings. Jamie also says Josie defamed his character.
Go ahead.
May I say something to that?
Who are you?
I'm Sarah, Jamie's friend. He's staying with me at the current moment.
Sure.
On the date that Miss Noble is talking about, when she had called, it is my cellular phone. She was really rude to me, ranting and raving about different things, saying that she was going to harm Jamie and that she was going to have
What did
people
she
after
say
him.
she wanted?
She wanted to talk to him. She wanted to talk to him now, and I said, well, he's unavailable at this moment. He had called her back, and they had talked about it for a couple hours, and
I was at work for a couple
It was
hours.
like an hour, approximately an hour.
Yes.
They had worked out to where she had said that he could not come get his things. She had also had called me before on my cellular phone telling me that, wondering where he was at, and told me that he was not allowed to get his things and that they were hers now.
That was not what was said
Can I
on
say
the phone
something?
at all. At all. I called there and...
Whatever. I don't know what this letter said. I don't have this letter, unless somebody has a copy of the letter. Do you have
I
a
have
copy of the
proof
letter?
that it was about, what it entailed.
And it was left in your house?
It was left in the apartment, yes.
Right. Which I find that you left.
But that doesn't give her the right to spread it around work.
No,
That's
no.
my personal information.
May I say something?
I showed a girl that you lied about.
You
Yeah,
may
she
not.
spread
It
it.
doesn't lend anything. Neither did her statement lend anything, but I thought maybe it might.
I was there a lot, like around through everything that happened, so.
Spare me, would you please? He is suing for the following: for the return of his property. What personal property? A computer?
A computer.
A desk?
A desk. A
You have his
bed.
desk?
He doesn't have a desk. All there was a little nightstand thing.
It's a stand.
And a bed. And a couple books were left.
Fine. Where are those things?
The stand is still in the apartment, the bed is still in the apartment, and the books are still there.
Great.
I have my
Great.
videos too, and my CDs.
What about his movies?
There
and CDs?
are no CDs. There's probably like 2 movies I think I still might have, but no CDs. Nothing.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is get the boyfriend to help you pack up his bed, his little nightstand, his books, and his videos. Pack them up. Put them out on the front of the house 5 days from today's date. He has 3 hours, from 12 to 3. If you're not there between 12 and 3 to get your bed, your nightstand, your books, and your videos, she has the right to get rid of them. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now let's get to the issue of the rent.
Okay.
You left the premises, and I find that you had no reason to leave the premises. Even if she locked you out, you had the right to get back in there, and I don't find that she locked you out of the residence. So from the time you left in December until the time she found a roommate, you are responsible for half your rent.
Can I say something on that?
Yes.
Her ex-boyfriend now, he was living with us from the time that he moved, or that we moved into the apartment, until the time that I left, and after that, I know he was still staying there, as I know of.
When you moved in September, was he living there?
Yes.
So that you knew he was living there.
Yes.
So.
But
That was your arrangement in September. He didn't move in afterwards, right?
Right.
So stop complaining. You have to pay until she. Who was your new roommate?
She just recently moved out. She was my cousin's cousin.
And how many months did she live there?
4 months.
When did she move in?
Or 3 months.
When did she move in? I don't need her name.
March.
So the month of January and February, is that right? He wasn't there, and then you had a roommate in March. Is that right?
Because he was gone for 4 months before I got her to move in.
Doesn't sound right. $480 is what you owe her. Do you understand?
Yes.
However, we're holding the $480 until you get your property, which is going to be on the order. Do you understand?
I think she might have only been there for 2 months or.
Fine.
So
that's still only 2 months. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. I don't care whether you agree with it or not. Do you understand it? That's all.
But he was.
Maybe I shouldn't have went to go visit my mother.
He's such a liar, and so is she. Nothing but a bunch of little lies, and I'm so glad that they're out of my life.
All right, now this is case number 99 on the calendar in the matter of Shank versus Casey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Shank, you and Miss Casey had a 7-year relationship and lived together for most of that time, I gather. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you had a rather acrimonious breakup, and each of you claim property loss, that the other is holding property that belongs to the other. You claim, in addition, that she filed false police reports about you, indicating that you had assaulted and threatened her, which caused you loss of business and income. So I want you to tell me exactly what it is that you are complaining about that she owes you.
I have a list here, Your Honor, of the items which were not returned to me. She also threw all my belongings that she did return to me in the swimming pool, including books, pictures.
Had you been living together up to that time?
Yes, ma'am, for 7 years.
Okay. And on what date did you leave the house, and under what circumstances?
I believe it was the 6th of May was the date of the restraining order.
Tell me what happened on the 6th of May.
During the day, she was telling me that she was getting a restraining order and having me removed from the property, and I kept telling her that I didn't feel she had a right to a restraining order because I'd been peaceful. She kept on. Well, I got angry, and that night I had a few beers with my friends, and I went to her house. I woke her up quietly. I said, Charlene, we need to talk about this. We need to work this out. She pulled a pillow over her head and yelled at me that tomorrow the police would be escorting me out of there. And I said, how are you going to do that? And she said, well, I'll make something up.
That's not true. Did the police come the next day?
The police did come that evening, I guess. I don't know. I left and had no further dealings with Charlene since.
Okay. Can I see that list of property, please?
I do have police reports, too.
Just a minute. Okay, you got a lot of stuff here from a 7-year relationship that ends with the statement, all you really want is my horse Elvis, that you value at $4,000.
And my picture of my son.
And your picture of your son. Now,
That
where
I
is this
paid for.
horse?
She told the officer that she wasn't giving me the horse.
Whose horse is it?
Mine.
It was my horse, Your Honor.
My horse.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Tell me when you got the horse.
Your Honor, this horse here is Rowdy. I purchased him early on in the carriage business, and
you and the defendant had started a carriage horse business.
Right.
Okay. And you took people around in rides for
Yes, ma'am.
events?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And did weddings and other types of events. I purchased this horse here, and he was really good for the business, but he really hated for people to pet him, that strangers. So we kept looking for another horse. We found another horse. Charlene purchased the other horse, sold this horse, and put the money from this horse into her account to replace the other horse.
Well, how much was Rowdy?
Elvis cost $1,800, and we sold Rowdy for $2,000.
And you were in business at that time with the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
That you both worked in?
Yes, ma'am. I have the franchise agreement here showing that we were partners in the business.
Let me just see that, please. See?
Yeah, I have that. He can have that back.
Fine.
We also had purchased a trailer together, which I have proof of that here also.
It's also a lie.
Did you do any other work, Mr. Shank, in the time that you were running this carriage business?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you do any other work at the time you were running this carriage
Yes.
business?
I had 2 jobs.
Okay. Now, where's the horse?
The horse is, okay, I bought the horse.
I asked you a question. Where's the horse?
The horse has been traded for another carriage.
What'd you do with the money that you got from the rowdy horse?
That went back into the business.
Fine. I mean, you entered into a business arrangement with him. Sure you did.
I have my sole proprietorship of my business.
What was he doing there? Were you paying him a salary?
He was keeping all the money he made himself. Every
Were you
money
paying
he made,
him a salary?
No. Okay. Yes, he was making money off the weddings we did, but as we did downtown work, the money we made nightly, he pocketed in his money. I put mine in my business account. He took his and put it in his pocket. I didn't get none of that money. None of it.
Well, you must have shared expenses in the house.
I paid my bills. He bought horse feed and hay on occasion.
All right.
Okay?
Listen to me. This is very difficult. When people live together and aren't married, it's complicated enough. And then when you enter into a business that each of you work in, it makes it even more difficult. You paid $1,800 for this horse, Elvis. Is that right?
Out of my money.
Stop.
My personal.
You paid $1,800 for this horse, Elvis. You got some money for Rowdy. Rowdy went into the business account.
Right.
Fine. All right. $900 in his picture. Okay. What other property, sir?
This trailer, Your Honor. We bought this trailer together, and she sold the trailer also.
When?
Since 16th of April.
So, you were still living together?
According to the paperwork here, it was supposed to be in both of our names, and I don't know how she sold it without my signature on the title.
Let me see.
I have the title.
Let me see.
Registration. Can I say something?
In a minute. Well, it's registered in the name of Charlene Casey or John Schonk.
On the top line there where I circled, Your Honor, it says if this box is not checked, it's assumed as and.
It says or.
On the application for title,
I don't care what the application
okay.
is. This is what the title says.
Okay.
Title says or. How much did you sell the trailer for?
$1.
Prove it.
Well, I sold it to my daughter. I didn't have her sign anything, but I have a promissory note where I borrowed money to buy that trailer, and I paid it in full.
Let me see.
He paid no money towards the trailer, Your Honor. I paid it all. I sold another horse trailer to buy that horse trailer,
And what'd you put it in his name for, too?
I don't know why.
I don't know either.
I don't even know.
I don't know either.
Being nice.
Now you got to pay for it.
Can I show you my other evidence?
Just a second.
Please? Okay.
Listen to me.
All right.
You did it. No court is going to go back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to figure out what was going through your mind when you put this in both names. You put it in both names. Do you understand?
Yes, and I know why I did.
I don't know why you did. You wanted to be nice because you were living with him as a family and you were going into business with him. And it was supposed to be a business that you were going to work up, make a living from, whatever. So you can't sell the trailer to your daughter for $1 because that's a lot of who shot John. Don't play with me, madam. Don't play with me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When he threw the phones across the room, I jumped out of bed and grabbed the phones and dialed 911 and stuck it underneath the sheets. He told me that he was going to rape me, and then I clicked off the phone, but she heard him say he was going to F me up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Schonk says ex-girlfriend Charlene Casey threw his belongings into the swimming pool. Charlene says John stole her horse carriage.
What's next, sir? Anything else?
She made false report to Crime Stoppers accusing me of stealing the carriage. This is the original carriage that started the business, and she led them to believe that it was a random burglary that...
Did you take one of the carriages, sir?
I took 2 of them, Your Honor.
2?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they?
I have them both.
You do?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do they cost when they were purchased?
One of them was $4,200, I believe, and the other one was $2,500. There was a lot of other equipment in the business also, Your Honor.
I'm not getting into fax machines,
Right.
photo machines, telephones. I'm getting. No. So you have these 2 carriages.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sold the horse trailer to your daughter for $1. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
That's a wash to me. You keep the carriages. You keep the carriage. You have no horse. You have a horse. You have a horse and no carriage. You have carriages and no horse. Sounds to me perfect.
I
Sounds
have
to me like two
I have the
people who deserve
receipts. I
each other.
paid for them carriages on my own money, on
Listen
my
to
personal
me.
account.
Listen to me. You don't have a personal account.
Yes,
you
I
go
do.
into business with him.
Can you look at my evidence, please?
Oh, sure. I'm going to look at your evidence, but you don't seem to get the drill.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you like with paperwork, and you can sell something that you believed might be a joint piece of property to your daughter for $1. But that doesn't mean when you come into court, I have to buy it.
Right.
You lived together with this man for 7 years. You started a business.
Off
He
and on.
worked the business. You worked the business. He worked outside. You worked inside. He bought things that you needed for the business. And now you're separated. Now you say, here's all this junk. You figure it out. But you say, I'm going to protect myself the best way I can. I'm going to sell this piece of property to my daughter for $1. You say, I'm taking the carriages, so at least I have something. That may be all you're left with, except the $900 for Elvis and your picture. Now I'll hear you.
Okay, ma'am. I did not file a false accusation. Here's my 911 transcript that when he attacked me and held me against my will, tried to rape me, tried to strangle me. I had marks on my neck. Here's my pictures.
Shh. He was yelling at you.
More than that.
That's all it says.
Well, this is because when he threw the phones across the room, I jumped out of bed and grabbed the phones and dialed 911 and stuck it underneath the sheets. So when he came running back in the room,
It says he was yelling
the
at you.
911 officer heard him yelling at me, and then I clicked off the phone, but she heard him say he was going to F me up. And also when he was attacking me, he told me that he was going to rape me.
Doesn't say that here.
Because I didn't have 911 phone call on at that time. This is when he first attacked me.
Yeah.
And here's my pictures of the mark he put on my neck, how he busted in my room. And I tried to call for my son for help. I tried to get my arm to raise the window up to call for my son for help. He hurt my arm. That's why he left, because I had 911 on the other line, and he ran out the back door, and then the police came, and I went that day and got my injunction.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Shaw claims ex-girlfriend Charlene Casey damaged his property by throwing it in the swimming pool. John says she also owes for the cost of a horse.
When you went out to do weddings, who drove the carriages?
We both did.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. You both drove the carriages?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
For the first year or more, we only owned one carriage, Your
And
Honor.
at that time, we took turns. He would take a ride, I would take a ride. And then when I got my father's inheritance money, I went and I bought the other 2 carriages. I bought 3 horses, and I bought driving lines. I bought $1,500 worth of harnesses.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mr. Shank, your sole source of income was from these carriage horses?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any other source of income?
When we originally started the carriage business, I had a full-time job for the first 2
Did
to
you
3.
have any savings?
No, ma'am.
So it is a fair statement that Ms. Casey makes when she tells me that she, in fact, invested the vast majority of the money for the property that formed the business.
Yes, ma'am.
Then how can you claim that you own these carriages that you took?
I originally bought the first carriage. I started the business.
No, you originally bought one carriage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And horse and harness.
Just a second. With what is my question?
With what? I was working a full-time job at the time, and I sold my horse.
Which horse?
I had a horse before the carriage. We had horses all along.
I see. So how much did you put in when you started the business?
When we started the business, the first carriage was, I believe, $2,500. I'm not exactly sure of the price, but
okay.
It's right in that neighborhood.
And where
The
is that
first
carriage
horse-
now?
The first horse was $2,000.
Where is that carriage now?
I had that carriage.
How many carriages do you have altogether?
I have 2.
So the other carriage belongs to her.
And
Yes,
half
ma'am.
of the other one belongs to me, too.
The other carriage belongs to her.
One carriage belongs to her. And
So why didn't you give it back to her?
well, this was another carriage, the third carriage that we owned. She changed the locks on the storage unit. Didn't allow me to work at all.
After I got my injunction. Okay, I'm sorry.
And I had nothing. She had my horse. She had all my belongings, everything, and I just took whatever I could take. Because
All right, we have to give her back that carriage. Now, is there any way of identifying that carriage from the other carriage?
Yes.
How?
It's white with red velvet seats. It was made in Canada, and it has a stamp on the back.
Your Honor, this carriage was given to me as a gift right here, and she has it at her house.
That one goes back to her in 5 days. The one that she's just described, and I will prepare the order. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, do you have one that belongs to him at
No.
your house? What is the one he's talking about?
I have no idea. I never.
She bought this maroon carriage and gave it to me as a gift. She
That's
said,
a lie.
"This is your carriage. The
That's
white
a
one
lie.
that I'm buying is mine."
Forget it!
Okay.
Now, you get $900 and you get the picture of your son. You will return to her within 5 days the carriage. And I'm not satisfied that there was not an incident in the room after examining the photographs. I think that you had a couple too many beers, Mr. Shank. Now,
I agree.
your countersuit is for lost wages and future income.
Right.
Forget it. You want the return and value of personal property. So you're getting
Right.
back one of your carriages.
And my harnesses.
How many harnesses do you have?
I have 2 harnesses, Your
One
Honor.
goes to her, one goes to you. Anything else?
Okay, this is a receipt that I paid $1,273 of the carriage that he says that he paid for.
Listen to me.
And this is my.
I've given you absolutely more time than anybody else
Here it
could
is.
give you with regard to this. With
my
regard to
draft
this
horse
stuff.
harness right here.
Just listen to me
Okay.
carefully. It is absolutely impossible without experts who can value a business, who can value what everything is worth now, 2 years later, 3 years later from when you purchased them, to make a judgment. This is not a marriage. Now, if you've been married, something else. Then you get somebody who will value all of your joint and single property and say, we're going to divide it in half, you take half, because it's all marital property. You have some receipts. You paid for some stuff. He paid with his time and working in the business. You now have horses and carriages. You now have a carriage. Uno.
Ma'am.
One carriage. Quiet. One carriage. You have no horse. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Maybe you want to buy one.
He stole everything. I had
She
no
has
way
2
to go to
carriages
work.
right now also.
Sir, ma'am.
And a hay wagon.
I had no way to go to work. I have 2 minor children at home. He stole every way I had to make a living. He stole the tool that was to fix the other carriage. So
You
3
spent
weeks.
7 years of your life with him.
No. The business was in my name only. I have my occupational license for the past 3 years. It's in my name only.
My question is, so you're saying he was a paid employee?
He was an employee.
Did you pay taxes for him as an employee?
No.
Goodbye.
I tried to get him to pay taxes. I tried to get him to pay
Goodbye.
his taxes. He wouldn't pay them.
No. Listen to me. My question is, he may not have paid them. Did you file?
I tried to get him to
Listen
go.
to me. Did you pay his Social Security? Did you give him a W-2 or a 1099?
I tried
whatever
to
you
get him to do
no,
it.
No, no, Listen to me, madam. Come over here, sir. Don't walk out on me. Put your
sorry.
back on me. I walk out on you.
Okay.
Did you 1099 him at the end of the year that this is what he earned? The answer is no.
No, because I asked him to go with me, and he would not go.
He doesn't have to go anywhere with you, madam. All you have to do is 1099 him, send it into the federal government. Did you pay his Social Security?
He would not
The
go
answer, he doesn't have to go anywhere. Did you pay his Social Security?
I didn't know how
The
much he
answer-
made. He would not tell me how much he made. He stuck it all in his pocket.
Not true.
Madam,
I never knew.
He was a partner in your business.
But
That's
he-
the way you set it up. It may
He
have
never
been in
told
your
me how
name.
much he made.
Say goodbye to him and to me.
Goodbye.
Parties up. Yes,
And now the next case.
all parties in the matter of Wagner versus Rockema, step forward, please.
Truck driver Michael Wagner and his wife Gabriella are suing their former landlord, foreman Shane Roukema, for destroying their furniture. Shane says the couple's accusations are ridiculous.
You rented a house from the defendant, is that
Yeah.
right? He had a piece of property, and there were 2 houses on the property. You rented one house. He lives in the other.
The back house is a garage that he made into a house.
For himself.
Yes,
And what was the rent on the house you were renting?
$550.
That a pretty good rent?
Very cheap.
Why do you think it was so cheap?
Because he was before I lived there. He had a problem with some other tenants that were there, and they had major drug problem there, and so he offered it to me afterwards. And
Had you known him before?
I've known Shane for about 5 years.
And what you're suing him for is you say that he, while he was under the influence of drugs, tore down the walls in your house and ruined your furniture with dust.
Scratched up my furniture as well.
Tell me about that.
Well, on the 22nd of April, I came home and I saw a big old pile of debris out in my front yard. Kept on walking and I walked up to the door. I opened up the door.
Of your house?
Yes. And I looked and all the walls were torn out. Everything. I have pictures here to show that the walls were torn out.
Can I see it, please?
Mm-hmm.
On April 1st, had you paid your rent?
Yes.
Do you have your rent receipts?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
I take the utilities out of the rent and I pay them myself. So I pay $450.
But after this happened, you only paid him $200.
Because he told me since all the problems that he had caused me that I only have to pay half of the rent.
And you said what?
No, and I said, okay, that's fair.
Okay, so on May 1st, after this incident happened, you said, okay, that's fair. Here's $200.
Yes, because...
Okay,
right.
I'm just
okay.
understanding what happened. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and so when I saw that what he had done, he walked through the back door and he gave me this strange look. And I said, what are you doing? And he told me, basically, he said, it had to be done. And I said, what do you mean it had to be done? You were working on the back, and now all of a sudden you come in my house without permission, without advance warning, and just start doing this with all my furniture here? And he said, it was the spur of the moment, his exact words. Because I asked him, why didn't you cover any of my furniture or anything? And I have my furniture, all of it, showing that it's damaged, right here, all the pictures.
I'd like to see it.
My big screen TV, everything. He did not cover nothing.
Okay, now I'm ready to hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I told the...
Look at me. Don't look down.
Okay.
Look at me.
I told the plaintiff that I was going to remove the wall from the kitchen to the living room and have some kitchen cabinets made up and do some light demo. We had talked about it months before.
When, immediately prior to April 22nd, did you notify him that you were coming in? Did you talk to him on April 21st?
No, it was 2 weeks prior to that, Your Honor, because I went to Colorado to see my mother. And before I went, I talked to him about it in his kitchen.
Fine. Now you get back.
Yes.
And you decide to do it on the 22nd. Now, the last time you spoke to him about it was before you went to your mother's. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you finish that job?
I did not finish the job because the cabinets had to be measured after the wall was down. So the guy had to come in and take measurements, and by that time he was gone.
So what you're telling me, sir, is first you knocked down all the walls and then somebody was coming to take
Not
that
all
measurement?
the walls. I knocked some of the plaster off the front wall, and that's what you see there.
Why in the last 6 months have you not completed the house?
Because I don't need to go fast anymore. We agreed that if he stayed in the house while I was doing the demo, I would do sections at a time and complete them.
Sir, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. When somebody does work on a kitchen, first they have somebody come in and take measurements. They plan it out. What they don't do is they don't take down all the walls and then say, now I'm going to get somebody to come in, and now they're going to take measurements. Your problem, Mr. and Mrs. Wagner, is that you accepted a resolution of this problem.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You let me finish. If you had said, I'm going to pay you your rent, I'm not accepting $200 for the damage that you did, then I would say to you, you have a claim. But when you accept a settlement, which is what you did, you're still stuck, but there's one thing that you're not stuck for, and you're not stuck for the fact that he trespassed on your property because you paid April's rent. And he has no right to come into your property without giving you adequate notice, which you did not do. Because the fact that you may have said to him, if I believed you, which I don't, listen, I want to do some demolition and some light work in the house. And people who live 2 feet away from you, you couldn't come in and say, listen, can you get your stuff together because I'm coming in tomorrow or in 2 days to fix it. I don't believe that. You had no business being there. Judgment for the plaintiff for $2,000. That's all.
53-year-old Carol Tarrant is suing her granddaughter-in-law, 25-year-old nursing assistant Stacy Rollins for breaking her wrist during an assault and for stealing her property.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, case number 245 on the calendar in the matter of Tieran versus Rollins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Taryn, Ms. Rollins is or was married to your grandson.
Right.
And according to your complaint, she and your grandson lived with you for a period of time.
Yes.
And then they separated. She left.
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
Majority of it.
What's wrong with what I said?
We did live with her and everything, but my husband asked me to leave.
Well, you separated. That means you
Yes.
did separate.
Yes, and we are still married.
They separated.
Yes.
She left.
Yes.
And then you claim that she came back to get some of her property.
Yes,
When
twice.
she came back to get her property, there was an altercation involving you, as a result of which you broke your wrist in 4 places.
Yes.
And the defendant also took some property of yours.
Yes.
The defendant says you fell, she had nothing to do with breaking your wrist, and she has no property of yours. Is that right?
The only property I have of hers is this bag that she asked for. And I've been asked
Anything
my
in the
husband to
bag?
come get it. I have no idea. I've never opened it.
Can I get the bag?
It wasn't mine. I put it off to the side.
Okay. Let's see what's contained in the bag. And then we'll get to this altercation. Well, one of the things you said she took was the camera.
Right.
Is that right? This looks like a camera case. And there's a camera in here.
Yes.
Okay. And a couple of other odds and ends, but I assume that this is the majority of what you're asking for back.
Yes, it looks like.
Okay, good. So let's give this back to the plaintiff, please. So then we're just going to deal with this injury to your arm and this assault. A few questions. What date did your husband ask you to leave?
June 29th.
How long had you been living with the plaintiff?
We moved in there July 5th, 5 days after we were married.
Of the previous year?
Mm-hmm.
So you were there almost a year?
Almost a year.
And who moved in? You, your husband, and you have a child?
Yes.
How old is your child?
She's 5.
But she's not the child of this marriage?
No, she's not.
Now, when your husband asked you to leave, did he ask you to leave on the 29th of June?
Yes, he did.
So you must have had an argument.
I'm not really sure. He was been very stressed lately and said he needed some time and asked me to leave, and so
And you
I
did. When he asked you to leave, did you give him your key?
No, from my understanding, he just needed time. He just needed a little space.
And what did you tell Miss Taryn when you left?
I did not speak to any of them.
Really? I mean, you
Yeah.
lived with the lady for a year. You didn't have any conversation with her at all?
No, my husband asked me to leave, and I grabbed my daughter and a couple things, and we left. I figured I was coming home that night.
But you didn't come home that night?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I said he needed more time.
Now, when was this incident when you did, in fact, return, and there was an incident involving Miss Taryn and her wrist?
That was the first time I spoke to her. That was August 2nd.
Tell me about it.
We arrived at the house.
Who's we?
Me, my couple family members, my friends.
How many people arrived in the house?
In the house there was 9 total, I believe.
That you brought with you?
Yes, to move my things out. I had not spoken to my husband, refusing contact. I figured...
He refused contact?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I figured my daughter's going to be starting school. I need more of her things, and I also needed more clothes. And so we went to go get my things, and upon arriving, found all of them packed up and shoved into one little room at the house.
How did you get into the house?
With the key.
The key that you had?
Yes.
Didn't it occur to you to call Miss Taryn first and say, we're coming over to get my things?
Well, my things were there. My husband and I are still married. That is also my husband's home.
Does this home belong to whom?
Both her and my husband.
It's my home, but I put my grandson's name on it for when something happens to me, he'd be able to sell it.
When you met your husband, where was he living?
In an apartment.
In an apartment?
Yes, because he didn't want to live with his grandmother anymore.
Fine. But at some point you moved in with her?
Yes.
So you and your husband moved into her home?
Correct.
So it didn't occur to you, Miss Rollins, to pick up the phone as a human being and say to her, I'm coming with 9 people to your house to get my property? Is that time okay for you? Is that day okay for you? I haven't been there in over a month. That strike you as something that would have been a nice thing to do?
Well, every time I called the home or whatever, I was usually hung up on. So I did not have that opportunity.
Did you ever speak to her?
No.
Well, your husband works. Is that
Correct.
true? Did you
And that's why
understand?
we went during the day, because I knew he would be gone and she would be there. She usually never leaves the home.
Good, so that you knew that she would be there. Why didn't you call her first and say, we're coming over to pick up my stuff? Is today a good time for you?
Because it was a good time for me and I was just going to go get my things.
Well, you got a lot of nerve. You got a lot of nerve. The lady takes you into her home with a child that's totally unrelated to her. You stay there for a year. You and your husband have some sort of a falling out, and I don't even want to get into that because I have no idea what it's about. But you're gone for well over a month. You don't come by yourself to pick up a few little things. You come with 9 people invading her house without so much as a telephone call first, and you expect her not to get agitated?
No, I understood why she was agitated.
You did?
But I also felt, that, and she said herself that I was there to pick up my things.
But you understood she was agitated because 9 people invaded her house.
Oh, no, when she got there, none of us were in there. Except for the minister's wife, who was keeping her dogs under control so they didn't get loose.
Tell me how you broke your wrist.
After I came home and seen everything was in the trucks, I seen some things out in the truck that my grandson told me not to let her take. And so I was walking out toward the trucks. She grabbed a hold of my arm, and I have osteoarthritis, so I'm not really that stable. That's why I can't run. I have to walk slowly. And as she grabbed my arm and turned me around, I fell. And I went down on my right wrist.
You have the medical records?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
Can I get help? Because she has everything.
Sure.
There.
Okay, I'd like to hear your version of what happened, how her wrist got broken.
I'm assuming her wrist got broken when she fell.
Yeah.
There was trucks and cars and everything in the driveway and so on. We were moving out. And she came out of the back porch door and started yelling. And then she had noticed a vacuum cleaner that was in the back of my stepfather's truck, which was parked out on the road. And she just said, "You're not taking that vacuum," and started running. And right about the part where the grass and the sidewalk meet, there's holes and everything in that yard, and I'm assuming she fell. I was pushing a lawnmower in the driveway at the time and walked over there to help her. Said, "Grandma, look what you did," and tried to help her up. And that was when she proceeded to throw the phone that she had in her hand at me, and I decided to walk away.
Good, you're responsible for her broken wrist. I don't care whose version of the events is accurate.
How is
I don't
that?
care whether you held her and twisted her around or she fell when she was running after one of the trucks that you brought with you. You're responsible. You created the situation by not making a prior arrangement with her and invading her home with 9 people who were uninvited to her home to clean.
They knew I was coming.
Who's they?
They all did. They packed up my things. They were waiting for me to come get my things.
On that day?
I didn't even know my things were packed up. They assumed.
Listen, don't be a swift talker. You understand exactly what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is they had packed up your things, put them away in an orderly way. You said in one corner of a room. That's what you told me.
It was all shoved into one room.
That's fine, shoved into one room. It was all packed up. She was expecting a telephone call from you to say, "Grandma, can I come over on the 2nd of August to pick up my things? Is that okay with you?" Sure. You're going to bring people? Yes, I'm going to bring 9 people with me to your house. 9 people to help me move. Because I know you're going to be alone that day, because I know he's working. So I'm going to come with 9 people, some of whom you know, some of whom you don't know. We're going to come into your house. I just want you to be alert to that so that you don't get frightened, you don't get scared. You did none of that. You just went when it suited you. It didn't suit you to go on August 1st. It didn't suit you to go on July 29th. It didn't suit you to go on July 28th. It suited you to go on August 2nd. Maybe it didn't suit her for you to go. Maybe she was having a bar mitzvah for somebody in her house on August 2nd. And it wouldn't be convenient for you to be removing stuff with 9 trucks. So you are responsible. Because if she got agitated because you hadn't made arrangements for an orderly transition.
But that was still considered my home.
It is not. No way. No way is it your home. You abandoned your home. You abandoned her home.
I did not abandon the home.
Oh, yes, you did. You abandoned the home. You were gone for 32 days, according to you, and decided that would be a good day for you to come and retrieve your property. And you and your husband moved into her home. He didn't live there when you got married. You said he lived in an apartment. And the 2 of you moved in, maybe because his apartment was unsuitable for you and your child. But you moved into Grandma's house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
He promised to pay me back. But then he comes over to my place and he goes, Janice, just consider yourself a $5,000 hooker.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carol Tarrant says her granddaughter-in-law, Stacy Rollins, owes for breaking her wrist and stealing her property. Stacy says Carol's injuries are her own fault.
You moved in to her house, and you knew it was her house. So you're responsible for her injuries. Got a lot of nerve. Do you have any medical coverage for these bills?
Medicare paid most of it.
Okay, so you're really suing for pain and suffering.
Well, I have a $9,000 hospital bill that they didn't cover.
Really?
Yes.
Why not?
They paid $2,000 of it.
And they didn't cover $9?
No.
And you still have the house in your name?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I knew that Judge Judy would get the truth.
I guess she just got what she wanted, like she usually does.
I don't know what I could have done. I had the phone in my hand. I guess I should have called the police as I was walking out.
There's no settling outside the courtroom with this family.
It was very frustrating.
She's playing this little innocent act in front of the judge of an elderly lady. And she's not.
I was so upset when I came to her home and she was holding her arm.
I do feel sorry, but she shouldn't have been running through the yard like that.
She was in a lot of pain.
Relation with the son, I'm sure everything's just deteriorated, unfortunately.
I just hope everything can be settled and that they could just leave us alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Harrington. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Dana Martin is suing former friend, 20-year-old student Robin Harrington, for the cost of 2 tickets to a Britney Spears concert.
Don't get comfortable, Bert. Have everybody sit down.
Okay. Have a seat. Don't get comfortable.
Right.
Have a seat. Have a
Mr.
seat.
Martin, you purchased a couple of concert tickets for Britney Spears' concert, and you say you bought them for the defendant who said she wanted to go. Now she changed her mind, and you say you're stuck with the tickets, and you want her to pay the $250 for the tickets.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. When is the concert?
21st.
So the concert hasn't happened yet.
No, ma'am.
And she said, sure, get me a couple of tickets. You told her that the concert was in Chicago. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right.
No, ma'am. I told her we had gotten tickets in February for the concert in Chicago, and they were really bad seats behind the stage, so I sent those back. So we said that we would get tickets to the concert in Indianapolis when they went on sale. And she said, purchase me 2 tickets, so I did.
Just a second. Did you know that the concert was in Indianapolis?
No, I didn't.
Where did you think the concert was?
In Chicago.
Is that what they originally told you?
Exactly. He didn't tell me it was Indianapolis until he wanted me to pay for them.
All right. Where are the tickets now?
They're here.
How many people are going?
4.
Did you try to sell those 2 tickets?
I tried to get rid of them, but I couldn't.
But those are real good seats.
Yeah, they're really good seats.
Put them on eBay. Somebody's going to buy them. You pay $250 for them?
Right.
And they're...
No, I paid
listen,
100.
Go ahead.
I paid 170 for them, but I don't feel that I should have to exhaust myself trying to sell these tickets when we had an agreement that she was going to pay for these tickets.
Very good. Put them on eBay, sir. You got rid of the ones that were in Chicago because you said they weren't good enough seats. So you got real good seats this time?
We sent a, yeah, we sent
just a second. You got real good seats?
Yes, we did.
Put them on eBay. Case dismissed.
Yeah, this is case number 103 on the calendar in the matter of Veers Cooper versus Veers. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Tell me your first name.
Angela.
Angela. Person that you're standing next to is your guardian.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
She is also a relative of yours. Is that right?
Yes.
How is she related to you?
She's my aunt.
And the defendant is your adoptive mother.
Yes.
And she's also related to you in some way, biologically. Tell me about that.
She's my aunt.
She's another aunt.
Yes.
And I gather from reading the complaint that you've lived with a lot of different people. Is that right?
Yes.
And you went to live with and was subsequently adopted by the defendant, your aunt, when you were how old?
14.
How old are you now?
16.
And how long did you live with her in total?
Approximately about a year. Maybe a little less.
And it didn't work out?
No.
And ultimately you came back to live with your other aunt, who is now your guardian?
Yes.
With your permission?
Yes.
This case is about a settlement that you had. When you were a little girl, you were bitten by a dog. And there was a lawsuit and a settlement. How much was that settlement?
Settlement was $9,000.
And there were a couple of withdrawals from that settlement for some small items. Is that right?
Correct.
way back when you were younger. What were those items?
One, I believe, was going to the dentist or the orthodontist, checking out what damages there was done after things had healed. And then the second time was to pay a back medical bill from when the dog bite happened.
And this lawsuit is about the remainder of that money, which was how much when you adopted her?
It was $9,000 when we went into the bank, got the savings, and put it into our name.
And in the year that she lived with you...
Actually, she lived with me a little bit longer.
How much longer?
We got her when she was 13, and
Okay.
she stayed with us until she was 15. And I went through a divorce, and I was starting to do a little bit of partying and wrong lifestyle for her. So that's when my sister came forward, and so I can get back on my feet again.
Ultimately, you took all of her money and spent it.
But I used it on her.
For what?
For clothes. When my ex and I adopted her, we weren't financially stable ourselves.
Then you shouldn't have adopted her.
Well, I did not want her to go into a foster home or anybody else. We wanted to keep her into our family.
Then you didn't have to adopt her. You could have taken her. You could have become her legal guardian.
I didn't even think about that.
Well, I don't care what you thought about, but when you adopt a child, you assume financial responsibility of the child. You can't take her money. What makes you think you can take her money?
But I understand that. I've been making payments for her dentist because I am reliable. So I've been making $90 monthly payments for her.
You took $9,000 of her money. How much was her dentist?
For her braces and stuff was $4,000.
Okay. Now, you could have left her money in this settlement account, in the minor account where it was, left that money there, and you could have petitioned the court. You say, I need some of this money to pay a dental bill, because she needs orthodontia as a result of it. That's fine. And the court would have given you, in all probability, the ability to take out that money, $4,000. So you got $9,000, you take away $4,000, leaves $5,000. Then she would have had $5,000. What'd you spend the rest of the money on?
But we used that to get her school clothes and her accidentals that she needed.
You have to do that yourself. You're her mother. Once you adopt the child, you become her parent. This settlement money is her money. It's her money for her future. It's not your money to spend. Don't you understand that?
Yes.
Then why did you do it?
Because when we adopted her, we thought that money was ours, so we can use that for her.
Well, let me ask you this question. Who had she lived with before?
My sister.
This sister?
Yes.
Okay. And she had $9,000. And how long had she lived with your sister?
Until she was 13.
Fine. Did your sister take out her money?
No.
You knew that. She lived with your sister a long time. And she didn't take out money for clothes or incidentals or anything else. She paid for it.
But at the time, I also was married, and my ex insisted that we do that, and it's hard to say no. it's
hard to say no. You understood that Angela had lived with your sister most of a substantial portion of her life. She had this settlement money. The money was relatively intact. So all of a sudden, you adopt her. Quick, go to the bank, take out her money, and spend it. That's outrageous. I don't know what else to say to you, except to say that you're suing for the maximum amount of jurisdiction of this court, which is $5,000. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I know I was in the wrong.
I just hope we can all go back to the way things were before.
I'm just glad it's all done and over with.
All I ever wanted is to put things back the way they were.
Good.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Charles versus Wooden. Step forward, please.
Production worker Phyllis Charles is suing her former friend, auto detailer Samuel Trell Wooden, for an unpaid loan for $1,000. Trell says Phyllis is lying.
Miss Charles, it's your claim that you made a loan to the defendant in the amount of $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says he never borrowed any money from you. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what all that junk is?
This here is this outfit that he bought, and we bought an amp from him because he said he was doing so bad.
Put it over there.
Thank you.
What did you make the loan for?
Well, he said that him and his girlfriend and his baby was going to be evicted.
Was he a friend of yours?
Yeah, we grew up in the same neighborhood.
Go ahead.
And after he told me that, you know, I was like, okay. And then my boyfriend said, well, you know, go on and loan the money. I said I would. He had a story like he needed $500 for his rent. He was going to move, which is why I didn't question it.
Does any of this sound right to you, sir?
I don't know what she's talking about, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Well, that's what he told me in my house.
Was anybody else there?
My boyfriend was.
Step up here. Tell me your last name, sir.
Washington.
Mr. Washington, do you know the defendant?
Yes, I do.
How long have you known him?
A long time. Now almost 20 years.
Well, do you remember this conversation in the house about money?
Yes, I do.
Well, look at me when you talk. Don't look at her. Tell me about when that happened.
Well, I think it was like in March that he had came to us and he was like stating the fact that he had needed some money for his rent. And at the present time, they were going to be evicted. Now, all of us is good friends, so it wasn't really no problem about the money itself. And so shortly after that, there, you know, he came and he took us to the bank. We got the money out the bank, and she gave it to him.
How much money did you loan him?
$1,000.
Let me see proof that you loaned him $1,000.
I have that where I drew $2,000 out March 1st.
Why did you take out $2,000?
Well, the other $1,000 was for me. I bought furniture, I bought a entertainment center, and I paid some bills and stuff. That's it.
Is this a checking account?
Savings.
Now, did he give you any of the money back?
$100. I ran it off, and I put when he gave it to me.
Let me see. Now you can explain to me about all that stuff is that you bought, because maybe it has a reason in this case.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Charles says former friend Samuel Trell Wooden owes for a $1,000 loan. Trell claims Phyllis never gave him any money.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, he did come to the house, okay? And then about the end of April, I'll say.
After you had loaned him the money?
Yeah, after I loaned him the money.
Yeah.
He called my house. He wanted him to come and pick him up from Pet Boys. When he picked him up from Pet Boys, he came back with a bag with this outfit. And then I had him to call. And I said, why did, we call him Trail. I said, why Trail gave you, you know, the outfit instead of sending me my money? So he said, no, you calling, you asking. So I asked Trail, you know, you bought him an outfit and you didn't send me my money. Then all of a sudden I heard the phone just drop or hang up. So he called back. I don't know what was discussed between them on the phone.
Well, what happened when you called back?
No, he was like this, basically saying, you know, man, why is your woman, you know, calling my house with all that, you know, BS and stuff, man? I ain't with that. Won't you just tell that it was like this gift, you know, because...
I don't understand the word you just said to me.
A gift.
I want to know, what was the discussion that you had with him after your fiancé
when
gave
she
you
called,
a hard time?
When I called back, right, and he got back on the telephone, I told him, you know what I'm saying, man, what's happening? He said, man, look at him. Don't have your woman calling my house with all that bullshit. That's what he said. And so I was like, well, man, the girl want her money. You know, and she hot about the amount about the money. You know what I'm saying? We bought the outfit, and I already knew it was going to happen like that, though. So then me and him, we felt went to talking about the issue. Then that was it. That was the end of the conversation.
All right. Did you have that conversation with Mr. Washington? No, listen to me. I want you to remember the conversation that you had with Mr. Washington. Did you speak to him about having his fiancée call your house?
I did speak with him about that.
And you told him to stop having her call the house?
That's right.
And she was calling the house about what, Mr. Wooden?
That I don't know. It's just something she just come up with. You know what I'm saying? Calling my house, talking about some money that I borrowed from her. Number one, Your Honor, I don't have to borrow no money from them because most of the time I wind up, you know, like he going to jail, I'm bonding him out of jail. If she got $1,000 to give to me, why she can't go bond him out of jail?
All right, you had a conversation with Mr. Washington. Do you remember hanging up on the plaintiff?
That's right, I remember that.
Because she was bothering you about money.
That's right.
And you've known her for how long?
24, 25 years. I've been knowing her for a long time.
For a long time. So now she's calling your house and bothering you about money that she says you borrowed from her, that you owe her. Is that right?
That's what she's saying.
That's what she said? Mm-hmm. Now, in the 24, 25 years that you've known the plaintiff, have you ever known her to be psychiatrically hospitalized?
Yes.
How many times was she in a psychiatric hospital?
To be honest with you, I really couldn't tell you because I'm so used to being incarcerated. So I couldn't tell you.
Mr. Wooden, listen to me very carefully, sir. Do you know what I mean by psychiatrically hospitalized? In the hospital because you're nuts.
She is.
Shh, shh. Have you ever been psychiatrically hospitalized?
No, ma'am.
Of course not.
No, ma'am.
Of course not. So she's not crazy.
Thank you.
So, Miss Charles, you've seen my courtroom before?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
So you know a few things. You know what I always say. If you're going to make a loan to somebody, you put it in what?
Writing.
Right! And you didn't do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? So that
Yes,
was a big
ma'am.
mistake.
Right.
So you didn't learn really well.
Right.
So now you put me in the position of having to make a decision as to whether or not you loaned him money, because he doesn't say it was a gift, he doesn't say it was a payback.
Yes, ma'am.
He says, she never gave me any money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we put things in writing when we make a loan.
Right.
Because now I have to decide whether or not Mr. Wooden is a liar.
Right.
Or you're a liar.
Right.
Now, Mr. Wooden,
Yes, ma'am.
this lady you've known for 25 years, and she's not crazy.
She is crazy.
Shh, no.
About my money,
No.
yes.
She's not crazy. What she is angry.
For what?
Because you borrowed money from her, sir.
Nah.
Yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. There isn't a reason in the world that I can think of, unless you can tell me the reason, why this lady who's known you for 24 years, or her fiancé who's known you for 20 years, would concoct this story about $1,000. She could have said, I lent him $2,000 because she withdrew $2,000 from her bank. She didn't say I lent him $2,000. She said she lent you $1,000. And he was a witness. And she kept calling you on the telephone to say, where's my money? And then, and this you verify, she got angry when you went and bought the fiancé an outfit. She called you again, why are you buying him an outfit if you owe me money? Give me the $25 or the $30 that you spent on his outfit. What are you giving it to him for? And then you hung up on her. And then he called you back, and you said he called you back. You see, little pieces sometimes make the truth. So you owe her $900 because you already paid her back $100. Judgment for the plaintiff. Put it in writing.
I will next time.
That's all.
Your Honor, case number 190 on the calendar in the matter of Sheftel versus DeRosa. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Don't bring out, don't touch anything. Mr. Sheftel, according to your complaint, you are in the business of making customized chocolates.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant had been a customer of yours for some time.
Yes.
There came a time when she ordered a customized item.
Correct.
Which you claim you delivered to her, put on a credit card.
Correct.
She stopped payment on the credit card and returned the chocolate.
Yes.
You say there was nothing wrong with the product and you want her to pay for it.
Correct.
Mr. Rosa says the product was defective and delivered late, right?
Yes, my horse looked deformed.
Okay. How long had she been a customer of your business?
About 5 or 6 years.
With no problem?
Never had a problem.
What kind of customized chocolates had she ordered previously?
The coins, I brought these to show you. They're customized chocolate coins with an imprint with her company or horse's name on them.
Fine.
And she ordered it by the thousands.
And what was this customized order that she made when she returned the order?
Okay, she had placed an order for thousands of chocolate coins. She came to pick them up on Valentine's Day, one of my busiest days of the year. While she was picking them up, she was on her way to a horse show. She asked if there was anything new that we're doing. You know, she's always interested in something different. And I showed her the photo chocolates that we do. That is an imprint of, you give us a photograph and we make it into the chocolate and the whole thing is edible. She was all excited. She happened to have with her a picture of her horse, which is on the back of a phone card that she gives out as a promotional item. She gave it to me.
Can I see it, Bert?
I went
Sure.
into the back and I said, if you want, I'll make one up real quick for you. I can do that. So I went into the back and I made one very quick for her, just to give her an idea. This is the exact sample that I made for her.
Let me see.
No, I ate the sample. I have an eating disorder. I ate the sample.
Listen, Mr. Rosa, don't speak until I speak to you.
Sorry.
Don't look back there. Look here. Don't forget. Don't speak. Okay, so this, you say, is the sample you made for her.
Yes, here, this is the finished product that we actually shipped out, several hundred of these.
Okay.
And you can take them out of the box if you'd like.
Just a minute. I don't want to take them out of the box. Okay. Okay. How many of these did she order?
200.
And what was the price?
The total came to $562.50.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. The chocolates are done individually handmade, so it's not like they're done through a machine and they're all identical. They're all done by hand. Okay. We take the picture that she gave us, which you have, and we make a master sheet of them.
Listen to me. I don't plan on going into the chocolate business.
Okay.
So I'm not interested on how you do it and whether it's a good product or not good product. Listen carefully. Bird, don't eat the chocolate. That's the evidence. When did you ship out this chocolate?
The chocolate was shipped out exactly 1 week later on the 20th, and it arrived in Arizona where she needed it the next day on the 21st at 9:25 and arrived in signed for at 11:19 in Scottsdale.
Okay, she got it.
She got it within a week.
Good.
I get a call from her. She said she didn't get it in time. I said, well, what do you mean you didn't get it in time? We shipped it out. Well, she said she needed it for a party. I said, well, I was never told that you needed it for a party. This was a last-minute order. We told you we'd get it there by the end of next week. So I knew nothing about the show. That was the first thing. Then she said, well, she didn't like the way they looked. I said, well, what's wrong with them? And I never really got a correct answer from her.
Okay, let me find out. There's no question that you received the goods on the 21st of February,
Yes.
and there's no question that you stopped payment on your credit card of $562.50.
Yes.
Okay, now explain to me why.
We went in, as you said, and I'll make this very brief. He showed us the chocolates. I gave him this card, which you have in your hand. I said, could I have a sample? The reason why I brought up the eating disorder, he brought it, and I wanted to keep the sample, but we ate it on the way to Scottsdale because there's no way that chocolate can last around me. So I said to Frank, it was beautiful. I said, Frank, please make this up for the show. He sent them a day late, which I said, okay.
Just a minute. It was exactly a week later that you received them, which seems totally reasonable. So the time is not the issue.
The issue is we go through great lengths to put my horse in the best light possible. On this Visa receipt, we not only have the chocolates, but we have the gold coins. The only thing I took out of this was the chocolates, and if you look at them, it makes my horse look deformed.
Well, let me see them.
The very reason,
Just a second.
to do this is to promote something and give this to people. And I don't know if he's changed the chocolates, kept the chocolates.
These are the exact chocolates.
He didn't make new chocolates.
No,
Can I see the box,
They were shipped
please?
back. And I want to point
Can
out
I
there were
see?
2 boxes that were shipped. She shipped back the second box with never even opened it when she got it. It was completely closed the way we sent it.
All right, let's take a look at some of these randomly, all right?
And he never said they were each one was separate and they would have a different look, or I wouldn't have done it.
Well, let me ask you this question. Could you take a look at this one and tell me what's wrong with it?
All right, well, what I wanted to start to say was the chocolate... Okay.
Just look.
Yes.
Tell me what's wrong with that.
You have a little bit on the picture there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a little bit of a discoloration. What I wanted to start to say was these chocolates were shipped from the candy factory in North Hollywood to Arizona. They went from Arizona, I don't know how, to Solvang, and then shipped back from Solvang to the candy factory 3 weeks later. So they left. I packed them myself. They were great. I don't know what condition they were traveled by. This is perishable chocolate. Considering all the travel they
Well, then
had.
let me see. Is that the box that came back unopened?
Yes, I opened it before we came here to make sure.
May I see that
Yes.
box, please?
And it says on the side of the box.
Just a second. I don't care where it went to, before or after or whatever else. This one she opened. This one,
And she
according
removed
to
10 of those bars also and sent it back.
This one, according to you, she did not open.
Correct.
And it came back to you unopened.
Correct.
So she just opened the first one, took a look at them, saw some that were defective.
That's what she says.
Well, I see some that were defective. Here you say it may have happened later.
Correct.
So let's take a look randomly at some of these. Bird, take out some of these for me. Help me out here, would you? I went to law school for this.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chocolate maker Frank Sheftel says Timmy DeRosa refuses to pay for the custom-made chocolate she ordered. Timmy says the chocolates were deformed.
Okay. Could you tell me why this makes your horse look deformed?
Well, this particular one doesn't. This one is faded. Would you hand this to somebody if this was the Judge Judy thing, a gavel, and your whole gavel was halfway off?
I wouldn't give somebody a picture of myself that they could eat.
Well, you know what? That...
And that's the point. These are edible. In 2 minutes, they're gone.
then don't have beautiful ones to show.
Are you talking to each other? Don't irritate me. This case is irritating me enough.
You cannot hand these out. There's some of them where their eyes are where their eyes are bulgy. This is faded. You can't give this to somebody. These are multi-$1,000 horses. His stud fee's $3,000. We ship semen all over the country.
Could I please have that back? Listen, what I don't understand, Miss, I'm speaking, Mr. Shiftel, something that I don't understand from a business perspective. Thank you. She's absolutely right that they're faded. But shh, I'm speaking. They're all faded.
6 months old.
No, they're all faded. I have no idea what they looked like before, but certainly these are faded. I don't see that they're deformed, but this isn't an oil painting. This is done in chocolate. What I don't understand from a business perspective, Mr. Shiftel, is this was a customer of yours for 6 years.
Yes.
So if she says she's dissatisfied with this part of one order that she made, it seems to me good business practice would be to say, I'll take the chocolate, I'll either eat it, or I'll mix it up in a vat, or I'll make new chocolate out of it, or I'll do something with it, but I'm not going to lose a customer of 6 years over one order. So explain that to me, because I come from a retail family, and I don't understand
So do
that.
I. The candy factory's been in business for 23 years.
This is not an advertisement for
no,
you,
I
sir.
understand
So
that, but what I'm
explain
trying
me-
to say is we don't put out an inferior product. What you're seeing here is chocolate that is now 7 months old, okay? And it fades. Chocolate, as you know, fades. These were in prime condition. Maybe there was something wrong with the shipping. Maybe they were left in the sun. I don't know. When they were shipped back to me, I opened them, I looked at them. There was nothing wrong with them.
Listen, what would be the reason for the defendant, she had been a good customer, to order them and then send them back to you? She clearly liked what you did. She came to your place. She ordered it offline.
She's called me since then to place another order. She called me 2 months ago to place an order.
No, what I said is do them right, and I will buy them.
No, your husband called me and asked me if he could place an order, and I said, we still have
An
this
order for
outstanding.
what?
For more chocolates.
No.
Hey! For what kind of chocolate?
We didn't even get that far.
Okay, because you said you still have this outstanding issue.
And another point I'd like to make is, she says that I could give them out as samples. I've shown them to people, actually. I do show them. I have one in the case. I think there's nothing wrong with them.
They're faded. Shh. They're faded and they're not great. And your customer didn't like them. I believe that she acted in good faith by returning them almost immediately. She said, I don't like the way they look.
It wasn't immediately. She took 10 or 15 out of one of the boxes.
Just a minute, did you take any out of the box?
When the boxes actually got there, everyone looked through them, and then they said, look, this one's deformed, this one's deformed, and the person that does the advertising.
Answer my question.
I don't know if there may be some out of the boxes that we handed out.
Well, then you pay for half. You can't use some. I don't care if you use 5 or 10 or 15 and say, I don't want the rest. The rest are no good.
No, that's not the point at all. That is not what happened at all.
That's exactly what happened.
No, it's not. Actually, I showed people how deformed they were.
And you didn't put them back. If you showed them how deformed they were and you didn't put all the items back because somebody took them, somebody ate them.
I told you then.
Don't talk to him!
No, I told
Talk
Frank
to me.
then. I told him then. I said, count them when you get them. I would not go to hell over $20.
So some people did take some.
No, not as a promotional item.
I don't care what they took them as.
No, I did not hand them out. They were at the barn. And I said, we cannot use them. Look at this. And everyone said, these look awful. We called Frank. I had no...
Madam, you're not answering my question. I don't care whether you used them as a promotional item or whether you gave them away as Christmas presents or you gave them to the Easter Bunny. Somebody ate them, and it wasn't him. Okay, as I said to you, and I'm not going to waste another second on this case, I think it's very bad business to sue a good customer. But I also think that you can't accept partial order, use some of the partial order, send the other one back without even having opened it, and say, they're probably all no good. So, listen to what I'm telling you. You see the box that you didn't open? That's this box, Bert? Which box didn't she open? That one?
Yep.
And we took a whole bunch out of this, right?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Quiet! I don't want to hear another thing. I got important business to take care of. There. You see that box? This came from here. This one is his order. That one is his sample. You see that box? Give it to her. She just bought half an order. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $280. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He usually makes excellent products, and this time he didn't, and that's a shame.
It's a reflection of the horse. That's what the horse looks like. If it's deformed, it's because the horse is deformed.
Yeah, this is case number 188 on the calendar in the matter of Murray versus Rose. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
You are Mr.
Murray.
So you are the father of the...
Bride.
And Miss Rose, you're the mother of the groom.
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you?
Groom.
Where's the bride?
She couldn't be here. She was too upset over these matters, Your Honor.
I believe it. Okay. Bert, I want you to listen to this very carefully. You haven't married any of your children yet, right?
Not yet.
According to the complaint and the counterclaim, the two families were planning a wonderful wedding for their children, and now the wedding, which has taken place, is over. And each of the parents are suing and countersuing the others for monies that they say are owed to them as a result of the expenses for the wedding. We're not talking about a lot of money here. Mr. Murray, you claim that Mrs. Rose owes you $573.79. And Mrs. Rose, you say that Mr. Murray owes you $2,999.45. First, let me hear what the claims are before I rush to judgment. Okay, sir. When was the wedding planned?
The wedding was planned for March 31st.
And you like the bridegroom?
Yes.
Nice guy?
Yes.
You think your daughter likes him?
I hope so.
She's known him for a while?
Yes, I think they've known each other 3-4 years, something like that.
And looking forward to a wonderful life together.
Hopefully.
So tell me how much you say you're owed by Miss Rose, and for what?
All right, I think the total is $573.79. She wanted to have the reception at her club, which is
Who
a
wanted to have the
bar.
reception at the club?
Pat, Mrs. Rose wanted to have the reception at her club or bar, or I think the sign on the front says honky tonk.
It's not a honky tonk. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Matter of fact, I have pictures of
Just
showing that.
talk to me, sir.
But anyway, we met there 2 weeks before the wedding to go over things that need to be done and this and that and the other. And she'd asked, in fact, about a week or so before that, if we could clean the carpet. We own and operate a carpet cleaning business. So we agreed that we'd come in and clean the carpet, and the deal was...
You mean
on
before the
carpet-
wedding?
Before the wedding. And the deal was on the carpet was that we would clean the carpet for whatever it cost for materials.
Go ahead.
We went in and cleaned the carpet. In fact, my wife and my stepson had went and cleaned the carpet. They were in there for like 6 hours. We used somewhere around 60 gallons or 62.5 gallons of cleaner in this restaurant. It was extremely, extremely bad. I mean, for the square foot of a bar.
It was a dirty carpet, and you cleaned
Very
it.
dirty.
That's your business.
All right.
Okay.
So anyway, Thursday night we stopped by the club. They were in there starting to set up. They were blowing up balloons, I believe. She said she didn't have a way to go to the store to pick up some of the food items that she wanted to prepare for the reception. And we said, well, we can go do that. My wife left, went to the grocery store, picked up the food items, brought them back. And we said we would settle up after the wedding. The wedding took place on Saturday. Monday, we went back in to pick up some of our things. In fact, we'd sent her a bill later on that week after we'd got everything together. She called and said that she didn't think she owed that kind of money. We sent her receipts. We heard nothing.
Okay, so your receipts are for what, sir?
The receipts are for the items that were bought at the grocery store.
And how much was that?
$53.24.
$53.24 of the items you bought at the grocery store. And what else?
We'd taken some ribbons and things by for table decorations. I mean, it's just simple things like 94 cents on ribbons and stuff like that.
So, yeah, go ahead, 94 cents. What else?
Right. It was some things in there from Food Line.
All total,
Meat.
sir, for the items that you picked up for her, that you have receipts for, how much do you have receipts for?
Oh, Lord. Be $123.79, I believe, Your Honor.
$123.79. All right. And what's the other money for?
The other money, the $450 was for materials used in carpet cleaning.
Okay. That's what your claim is, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let me hear from you. What's your claim about?
Would you like these receipts?
No.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, when I talked to his wife, Mrs. Murray, about cleaning my carpets, I told her it was for the wedding because I wanted the carpets to be clean for the reception. First, she said, no charge. I said, no, I will not let you do it free of charge. She says, well, why don't we get the boys to clean the carpets and I'll charge you for the chemicals. And I said, that's fine. How much do you think that'll be? She said $25 or $30. I agreed to that. The boys came in, they cleaned the carpets. And then the Thursday, as he was talking about her going to the grocery store.
I don't want to hear about the grocery store.
Okay, they came over to...
Shh. I don't want to hear about the grocery store. I want to hear about your counterclaim.
Oh, my counterclaim. Okay.
Right, is what I want to hear about.
Okay, my counterclaim is $2,999.45. These are charges incurred because of the wedding, the rental of the dance area, which is half of what I would normally have charged.
Why did you charge him anything?
Well,
why'd you charge him anything?
It's a business.
What?
I coughed up $400
for what?
For the rental of the business.
No. Listen
I closed my business down, Your Honor, for 10 hours.
Just a second. How long was the reception?
The reception started at 4.
And was over at what time?
4:30, 5 o'clock, and it went on to 12.
Were there other people in the bar?
Not customers, no. Everybody was in there, was invited to the wedding.
Fine. How many children do you have?
One, thank God.
Good. So you have one child, and you happen to have a place where they could have the wedding. So what's the big deal if you close your place for a
No
night?
big deal.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Murray says mother of the groom, Pat Rose, owes for money spent on his stepdaughter's wedding. Pat says it's Stephen who owes.
What's next?
Preparation and setup.
What does that mean?
That was doing the decorations, all the things that had to be done, setting up for the food area, for the cake, the decorations for the club.
What else?
Clean up.
What else?
Rental of linens.
Linens?
They did not want to use my white ones. They wanted the champagne ones.
Fine. How much was that?
$65.
Good. Go.
I have invoices.
No. I want you to keep talking to me.
Okay. The food.
How much was the food?
My cost on the food was $601. I called a caterer to find out how much.
How many people were at the wedding?
187 people RSVP'd.
No. How many people came to the wedding?
I didn't do a head count, Your Honor.
But a lot of people.
Yes, it was full.
Okay, and the total cost of the food was approximately $601?
Right.
Okay, what else?
Champagne.
How much was that? Your cost?
$210. She agreed to pay for this.
Okay, what's next?
The bands and the DJs.
Are these regular employees of yours?
No, you book bands and DJs as you need them.
No, I'm asking you. Were these regular employees of yours? Did you pay them by the week? Did you pay them by...
No, you booked them per occasion. I had booked a band in there. Mrs. Murray called me and insisted that I cancel the band. I told her it would be just as cheap for me to let them go ahead and play because I had to pay a cancellation fee. She said she wanted a DJ and karaoke to cancel my band. I did. I paid the cancellation fee, hired a DJ, and as soon as I...
Now, would you give me some idea of what the cost was for the music?
I paid $290 cancellation fee. Then I had to turn around and pay another band that she insisted that I hire $300. The DJ and karaoke was $250.
Okay, what else?
And then there was additional wait staff, loss of linens due to the fountain, and the carpet. I have invoices for all this, Your Honor.
I'm being very arbitrary here. There are certain costs that I'm considering in my head and certain costs that I'm not. Now, Mr. Murray, how many children do you have, sir?
I have 2, and I have 2 stepchildren.
I want to know how many children you have.
2, 1 daughter, 1 son.
And how much did you pay out of pocket for her wedding?
That was my stepdaughter that got married, Your Honor.
Oh, it was your stepdaughter that got married? Well, that's your daughter. Step up.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. Your name is Miss Murray?
My name's Darlene Murray.
You have 1 daughter?
I have 2 children, 1 daughter, 1 son.
Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What I want to know is how much the parents of the bride actually expended for this wedding and what you spent it for.
Your Honor, first of all, may I please say...
Say nothing except answering my question. How much money did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
My agreement...
That's not what I asked you. How much did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
I would say that I spent over $200.
For what?
The rehearsal dinner, unbeknownst to me, was at my home that was not pre-planned.
Who planned a rehersal dinner at your home without your knowledge?
There was not to be, Your Honor, a rehearsal dinner because the rehearsal was going to be at 7 o'clock in the evening, the night prior to the wedding.
Right.
My son just got married last May, and it was
How
also-
did you get to have a rehearsal dinner at your house without your knowledge?
Because we were doing dinner for the guests that were coming in from out of town
Mostly
that would
family
be
members.
staying.
Your
The day-
guests.
Correct.
Just a second. Just a second. Your guests.
Correct.
From out of town.
Correct.
Were any of the groom's guests from out of town at this rehearsal dinner?
They were not to be, but at the last minute, because of not planning correctly, Miss Rose informed me that they would then come to our house after the rehearsal.
Honor.
So I ended up with their family and our out-of-town guests at our home for a rehearsal dinner that we prepared all the food and liquor at.
Okay. No, don't answer. Don't answer. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. How many people did you have at your home for dinner?
I would say 50 people there.
50 people. And of the 50 people, how many people were from the groom's side?
I would say roughly.
Not roughly.
Some people I didn't know. I mean, there were friends and out of town. I would say probably somewhere around 20 to 25. It was probably about equal amounts.
Okay.
She's okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
What else did you spend money on?
For the wedding?
Yeah.
Other than dress and personal items?
Yeah.
Nothing, because it was not my wedding. This is my daughter's third wedding, Your Honor.
wedding.
I paid for the first one.
And Stacy and Wayne agreed to pay for this wedding.
My daughter is 35 years of age. This was their wedding. I do not believe that it was my obligation as mother of the bride to pay for a wedding that they did
Then let me
arrangements.
ask you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? And I don't necessarily disagree with you, because that's information that was not contained in your complaint. That this was a third marriage for your daughter.
Your Honor.
Shh.
Excuse me. Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
Okay.
And that you paid for the first one, maybe paid for the second one, and you weren't going to pay for a third one. You said, wish you good luck, but I'm not paying for the wedding. That's not unreasonable, so.
That's basically how it worked.
Right. Just a minute. That doesn't mean you're going to get your money for carpet cleaning. Let me explain that to you. That's outrageous. It's outrageous because I've had my carpet cleaned a couple of times in my life, and it doesn't cost $450 for materials for carpet cleaning. You know it, and I know it. Mr. Murray, you know what a jug, a whole vat of cleaning material costs, and it doesn't cost $450 for carpet cleaning. And even if it did, which it doesn't, it seems to me, while you had no out-of-pocket expenses for the wedding, it was a nice gesture if you said, if you're donating your hall, which, by the way, you're going to do.
Okay.
I'm giving you that right now.
That's fine.
If you're donating the hall, at least I want to do something to make it pretty, so I'll come in and clean the carpets. So I've just taken care of your claim. You have no claim.
Okay.
You cleaned the carpets and you picked up $100 worth of food. Big deal. According to you, you had a lot of out-of-town family. I don't know if it's your family, your daughter's family. So even if you made a rehearsal dinner, you decided to do that, and you made it at your house for your out-of-town guests, you knew that they were going to be fed at her establishment because she paid for the food.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, I believe she paid for the food for the wedding.
Your Honor, may I please say something?
You're telling me everybody brought something?
Yes, ma'am. And I have the list as to how it was
A friend
done.
of ours that came from North Carolina that does wedding cakes, she made the cake and she brought the cake
How
down.
many people were at this wedding?
About 120 people.
yeah.
120 people. So somebody else made a wedding cake. Big deal. And
No,
if you're telling me this was a potluck wedding where everybody brought a dish to feed 120 people, I'm telling you I don't buy it.
Well,
Forget it. You have no claim.
Wasn't enough food
Listen to
feed
me.
120
You
people.
have no claim. What I don't understand is why you two people have chosen to interfere with the happiness of your children over what I consider pittance of money. Everybody has problems when they plan a wedding. Everybody has problems when paying for a wedding. The bride's parents are supposed to do this, the groom's parents are supposed to do that. In the case of second or third marriages, perhaps that's different. But it seems to me you have one child, and you want that child to be happy. both of you, have placed a strain on a brand new marriage by fighting with each other. This will never go away. This will never make your children feel better. Put your hand down. I am certain that they have had many hours of discussions, unpleasant discussions. Is that a fair statement? You and your new wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Over this nonsense. Nonsense. Stand up here with your mom. Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Professional painter.
Have you been doing that for a long time?
Right about 8 months now.
Is this your first marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew it was your wife's third marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have children from her first two marriages?
Yes, ma'am. 2 girls.
How old are they?
19 and 16.
Are you currently living with your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than this strain that you have any other stress or strain?
Regular life, but this is really a real bad strain.
Well, this is what I'm going to suggest that you do. If your mother wants the money for the rental of the hall, for the band, and for any other incidentals that she may have incurred for this wedding, I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
Your Honor.
Do you understand? I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Mrs. Murray is the one who demanded all these demands. She's the one that ramrodded the whole affair. She's the one that made all the decisions, not the bridegroom, not myself. She's the one that demanded that I cancel the band. Then she's the one that demanded I hire a DJ. She's the one that demanded that I rehire another band. She's the one who agreed to pay for the champagne. She's the one who agreed to do all this stuff.
I helped clean the
She's
carpet.
the one, she was so petty about everything, Your
Just
Honor.
a second. Listen to me. I wasn't there. And I believe, just listen to me. You don't have a written agreement with her, do you?
Verbal agreement.
I said you don't have a written agreement
No,
with her,
ma'am, I
do
have
you?
a verbal agreement.
Okay. I believe them when they say that they were not prepared to make a third wedding. I believe them because that's very reasonable. And they were going to use your club, and there weren't going to be a lot of expenses. You have 2 adult children, one of whom has 2 children who are adults themselves. So if you feel as if you have to be reimbursed for the rental of your place and table linens, I suggest you speak to your son and make arrangements to do that. Your case is dismissed as well as your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 282 on the calendar in the matter of Dawkins versus Morris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young lady, have a seat, please.
All right, this is a little complicated. Let me see if I can simplify it. Miss Dawkins, according to your complaint, about a year ago, your boyfriend was arrested and was incarcerated. The defendant was a friend and also was a paralegal by trade. You claim that you paid the defendant $2,500, that she said that she had an attorney who would be very good for your boyfriend, and that the $2,500 was a retainer. And then later, when he was given a public defender, she said that she would work with the public defender to file motions and do other things in her capacity as a paralegal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Subsequently, you found out from the attorney, the public defender, who had been assigned to represent your boyfriend, that he told her to stay out of it and not do anything. So you want your $2,500 back.
Right.
Is that this case?
That's it.
Ms. Morris says that the $2,500 was in fact paid to her, but it was for the return of a loan. Now, first tell me, just my own information, what was your boyfriend arrested for?
It's for a murder. He's still in prison right now.
And he still has a public defender.
Right.
Did the attorney who Miss Morris said that she had that would be very good for your boyfriend, did he ever appear in court?
No.
When did you give her this $2,500?
In November 2000.
Did you give it to her in check or cash?
I sent her a money order with cash.
You have a copy of that money order?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
Well, Western Union receipt.
I'd like to see it. I'd like you to tell me, Ms. Dawkins, about the discussion that you had with her when you sent her this check.
Like you said, my boyfriend had went to prison, and because of that, we called on Paulette for legal advice, and she told us that she would see what she could do. And she told me that he would need a lawyer, and she had a friend that she was going to talk to. So she did that. I talked to Paulette a couple days later, and she told me that if I got $10,000, that we would be able to retain this lawyer. All I had at that time was $2,500, and his mother tried to come up with the rest of the money, but we couldn't. So he was given a conflict panel attorney, and we left it alone because we knew we weren't going to come up with the rest of the money. Then she told me that she had spoke with his attorney and that they agreed to work on
The
that.
attorney who was assigned
to him, yes. She told me that she had spoke with him and that they agreed to work on the case together, but since he got paid through the state, that I would have to give her the money that I had already had, the $2,500, for her to file the motions and to do some research on her own on my boyfriend's behalf.
Is that when you sent the money?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I sent the money from out of state because I was out there with some family. When I came back from out of state, I had got a hold of his attorney, and he told me that he told Paulette not to get involved with the case because she couldn't do anything but hurt it. I got suspicious about it because I had talked to my boyfriend. He told me Paulette had not attended any court dates since I had sent her the money.
Okay. Ms. Morris, I will hear you.
First of all, Your Honor, I've never seen or met Jessica before in my life. This is my first time ever laying eyes on her. As far
You were
as
a friend of her boyfriend's?
Yeah, he calls me Mom. I'm kind of like a mentor to him. And
Not such a good mentor if he's in jail for murder.
No, that...
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Prior to him being arrested, I've been helping him try to find a job. He really was pushing the pedal on finding a job. He eventually found a job. The date that he started his job, he got arrested, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Prior to that, I had loaned the ex-boyfriend a total of $1,200 to help him with her to move into an apartment complex to get on his feet. And he told me that he would pay me back $100 a month. Mom, I will pay you $100 a month until I pay you back. And that's fine, it's no problem. I'm a gambler, Your Honor.
So, you loaned him $1,200.
I loaned him $1,200.
Right.
And what he asked me to do was to find him an attorney, which I did. I had a friend who practices in criminal law. I have never, and I really get offended when someone refers to me as a paralegal because I've never even held myself out to be a paralegal. I don't even do paralegal work.
I'm not following you, Ms. Morris. Is it your claim that you loaned the ex-boyfriend money and this $2,500 was repayment of that loan?
$1,200.
$1,200.
Okay.
Okay.
Now-
No, is that your claim? The $1,200 is a repayment of the loan?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the rest of the money for?
Okay. I went on behalf of him and I've gathered a lot of information out on the streets that I could get a lot better than investigators could get. And I gave the information to an investigator for the attorney. And at some point I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I gave the rest of the information to the MET unit, which is like a SMASH unit, a drug unit. In the meantime, Randy called me and asked me if I would take, first he called my daughter to ask if she would take his son because his son was in some very serious danger. The son at the time was only 14 months old. Miss Dawkins here was in possession of Randy's son when the murder occurred. He was begging my daughter to take the baby. My daughter couldn't. So he says, I'll ask Mom. And I told him I would do it for $2,500 until he gets out because raising a baby is not cheap. They couldn't come up with the full $2,500, so I said, okay, the 12 and the 13, $2,500, I will go ahead and do it. When you get out, him, the ex-boyfriend, and her were supposed to take the baby. Well, it ends up that he's still there. He's not in prison, Your Honor.
Where is he?
He's in a county jail. He's not been tried. He's not in prison. The
He's
case
in
is still
county jail.
pending.
He's whatever.
Yeah.
He's not free.
Right.
Where did you get this money from, Ms. Dawkins?
I had it saved up. And I have a letter.
This is your money?
Yes. I have a letter from Randy showing exactly why she took the money. It doesn't say anything about a loan that was given to him or...
This is the person who was
That's
incarcerated.
in jail, right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Dawkins says she gave money to her ex-boyfriend's friend, Paulette Morris, so she could retain a lawyer on his behalf. Jessica says Paulette blew the money.
Let me tell you the problem with your defense, Miss Morris. Your loan agreement was not with the plaintiff. Your loan agreement, if I believed you, was with a person who was incarcerated. And there is no proof that the person who was incarcerated paid that money, that she paid the money.
However, there is, Your Honor.
Tell me what that is.
The reason I'm being brought here today is because Ms. Dawkins found out that my daughter Kyla here, who was really close friends with Randy, was seeing Randy. She found out about that, and that's when holy hell came about. Her problem is between her and my daughter and Randy. I'm
How
being
old is your
drawn into-
daughter?
My daughter's 19 years old.
What do you mean she was seeing Randy?
My daughter had a boyfriend at the time. Jessica was with Randy at the same time. They were all kind of hanging out and having fun together. I had no idea that they were seeing each other, you know, other than being friends.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Dawkins. Did you ever have a telephone conversation with the defendant?
Yes.
When
Several.
did you have that telephone conversation?
I've had several conversations with her.
Relative to the $2,500?
Probably around June or July that I spoke with her and asked her about the money.
What do you mean asked her about what?
Because this is when I found out, this is when I had got back and I had spoke with Randy. He told me she had not been to his court dates. Since I gave him the money, he hasn't heard from her. So I had called her up to see what was going on with that money and why she wasn't doing what she promised. And that's when she told me she had the baby, and I have never had custody of Randy's son, ever.
Who asked you to send this money?
She asked me to send this money to her.
Did you speak to Randy first?
Yes, but he did not tell me to give her the money. I didn't speak with Randy that much because they're collect calls. I can't speak with him that much. I spoke with the defendant, and she told me she would need the money to file motions and do research.
Miss Morris, where is this child now?
The child is residing with me. In January, I will be adopting the child. I have a letter here from Randy as well, asking the judge court, and it is in the papers as to him wanting me to take the baby. As far as me not going to Randy's court appearances or anything, he requested me not to for the safety of the baby.
Well, this letter does not give you the ability to adopt the child. It
No,
does
I
not
have-
give his consent.
I have the
Did you file a petition to adopt the child?
I have the petition for guardianship.
Guardianship is not adoption.
No, the laws have changed within 1 year in January. The adoption procedures will be
Can start.
Will start, exactly.
Can start. His parental rights have to be terminated.
Terminated
Where's
within
the mother?
1 year. The mother is in a youth halfway home. She just got out of juvenile hall.
Are you paid any money by the state?
Now
Ms.
I am.
Morris?
Yes, I am.
Let me finish. There is a procedure that is used in this country. It's called kinship foster care, or foster care with someone that you know. So the state gives you money every month for taking care of the baby. How much do you receive from the state?
$406.
And how long has the child been with you?
The child has been with me since January 2nd. I began receiving payments in about March.
So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So you've received 8 payments?
Approximately, yes.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. So you've received $3,200 so far. So this money that you say he's supposed to give you for taking care of the child, you have been reimbursed for taking care of the child
Oh,
by
yes,
the state.
I had no
By
choice.
the state.
Right.
By the state.
And what happened was when the child was brought to me, the child came to me with just a shirt, a dirty diaper, and a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I had to completely furnish a room, completely buy all clothing, all items that a baby would need to
The
sustain
state
him.
also gives you a stipend for that clothing allowance.
No, I got that later on.
But I know that you get a clothing allowance and a stipend, and
was
also money to furnish a room.
$100.
I know that you get. I know that you get that.
$100.
So don't say no. You do. You get $100 for what?
A year.
For what?
For a clothing allowance.
Okay. Well, you get $400 a month. The child that age doesn't eat $100 a week.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
But the child wears diapers. The child had bottles.
Right.
The child needed clothing.
Right.
The child has daycare. I work.
No, you don't pay for the daycare for the child.
Exactly. It comes
exactly.
from the
So
money.
don't tell me you have daycare because the state pays for the daycare for
No,
the child.
it comes out of the $400.
No. The state pays for daycare with daycare vouchers if
That
you're
is
working.
not true, Your Honor.
I don't know what state you come from.
He's not a foster child, Your Honor. He's a ward. He's my ward. I'm his legal guardian. When I do put him into a facility, once he's potty trained, it goes according to my income.
So who babysits for the child?
Whoever I can get to babysit for him.
Who do you get to babysit for
Usually
the
my
child?
relatives or some really
Right.
close friends.
Okay.
And
I
also,
gotcha.
Your Honor, here,
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Okay. On the other point, the papers that I'm showing here where I did give Randy the money for him and the apartment for him and Jessica, which they both were dwelling in, is here. My daughter have been
Were
there.
you living in an apartment that she helped fund?
No, I didn't know anything about that. If she helped Randy fund an apartment, then Randy needs to pay her back.
Right.
Did she
right.
reside
I did
in the
not know.
apartment?
Doesn't make any difference.
I didn't know anything about any
The
money that
loan
he
was
gave
not
her.
made to her. The loan was made to him. If you had a misjudgment, Miss Morris, with regard to person to whom you made a loan, you can't visit that on her. And there is no proof that the money that she sent you, the $2,500, came from Randy.
I know it didn't come from Randy.
Well, if it didn't come from Randy, it has to go back to her. And if he ever gets out of jail because you say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, then I assume that he will be acquitted of these horrendous charges. And at that time, I assume he'll pay you the money back that he owes you. But that's not her responsibility. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I honestly believe that it was behind jealousy because of my daughter and her ex-boyfriend.
There are plenty of men out there. I don't need to hold on to someone that's in jail that's going to mess with someone like that.
Woman, stay away.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pettigrew, Ray versus Alexander. Step forward, please.
Daycare provider Denise Ray and her children, 13-year-old Jaquan Pettigrew and 10-year-old Ebony Pettigrew, are suing former friend, 55-year-old school teacher William Alexander, for the return of two $1,000 savings bonds.
Miss Ray, according to your complaint, you've known the defendant for most of your life. Is that right?
Yeah.
He's been sort of a mentor to you and to your family. According to him, he even raised one of your children. Is that right?
No, not necessarily.
Well, what do you mean not necessarily? You had 3 children?
Yes, I did.
An older boy?
Yes.
Did the oldest boy live with you continuously until he reached the age of 18?
No.
Who did he live with?
The defendant.
Right. Well, that's what I said.
Okay.
According to you, there came a time several years ago when you came into some money as a result of a claim because of the earthquake in California. You had a couple of $1,000, and you wanted to put aside some of that money for your children.
Yeah.
So you asked the defendant to get savings bonds for your 3 children.
Yes.
How much money did you give him to get the savings bonds?
$1,500.
$1,500. So
Yes.
you wanted a $500 savings bond for each of your 3 children.
Yes.
Now, one of the children, the oldest child, whose name is?
Edward.
Edward. Did Edward get his bond?
He's here, yes.
Edward?
Yeah.
Did you get your bond?
Yeah.
From Mr. Alexander.
Yeah.
That leaves 2 $500 bonds left.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That Mr. Alexander is holding for your children. And you want?
The bonds double value, Your Honor, to $1,000.
Well, when did you give him the money?
In 94.
Okay.
August 8th, well, approximately August 8th, 1994.
Where are the bonds, Mr. Alexander?
I have them here, and they were
May I
purchased.
see them, please?
Yes.
Sir. Sir.
Okay. And they were purchased August the 11th, 1994.
3 days off.
Well, they are $1,000 bonds.
Yes.
In the names of the children or Mr. Alexander, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Tell me why you want these bonds now. Tell me why you want to hold them for your children.
Because I want no more dealings with Mr. William Alexander. Of course, I know some statements were made in his statement regarding my lifestyle at the time. I'm not in denial anymore. Yes, I had a substance abuse history. But the thing about it, what led up to my substance abuse history was kept hidden in the dark for years.
Was that his fear? And was that your fear? Is that
was
why
my
you
fear.
gave him the money to buy the bonds for the children? Rather than buying them yourself?
No, at the time that we were to purchase the bonds, I didn't have Edward's social security number. The day that we were at the bank purchasing the bonds, I filled out all the original paperwork with my name as payee for these children until they turned 18 for these bonds. Mr. Alexander asked me to let him hold the money and the paperwork until that following Monday. I says, okay, I'll trust you. Come that following week, when I asked Mr. Alexander for the bonds or my money, he told me he wasn't giving them to me.
I assume that you let him hold these bonds all of these years because you trusted him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You
and then-
trusted him, and he certainly did everything that he could to live up to that trust, because here are the bonds. He hasn't done anything with them. Here they are.
Okay, but Your Honor, it's more to the story than... I don't want no more dealings with Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander is...
I don't want any more dealings with Mr. Alexander. Do you have a problem with her holding the bonds for the children?
No, I don't have a problem at all.
Fine. Good.
Okay.
Because she really can't cash them.
No,
Because they are for either of the children or you.
exactly.
So if she went in to cash the bonds, she could not cash them. These bonds are going to have to sit there until the children reach their majority.
I gave the bonds to her last year when she asked, and she became angry because I wouldn't sign them over. I said, if you want the bonds, you may keep the bonds until the children are 18. It's their money.
Right.
No.
No
Your
what?
Honor. No, he did not.
Okay,
I
well, no,
asked-
just so we don't have a problem anymore.
I want my bonds changed over to their godmother.
No. You can't have that. Period. I'm not doing that. You can hold your children's bonds because that's what you want to do. If you feel as if you have a safe place in your home, or if you have a bank vault, you can take the bonds and put them there and wait for your children to reach their majority, and then you give them the bonds, and at that time they should be even worth more than $1,000.
Exactly.
Because it's a while. How old are you?
10.
And you?
13.
13. Well, got a way to go. These are going to be worth a lot more than $1,000.
But I paid for those bonds.
So what? Well, what do you want me to do?
I don't want nothing to do with. I don't want nothing.
You don't have anything to do with
but
them,
his
madam.
name is on them.
You're absolutely right, which means that you cannot cash them. The only thing that means is you cannot cash them. These are for the children. This is what you intended it for. You intended these bonds for the children.
But I didn't intend for his name to be on them, Your Honor.
Well, then don't look at them. Don't look at them. Put them away, and when your children reach the age of 18, you give each of your children a bond. One of the children should have about $2,000.
They don't need his assistance for anything, right?
No, to me,
Okay,
to do
thank you.
these?
I just don't want
Absolutely
them in my
not.
children's life,
Shh,
period.
Listen to me. All this says is Ebony or William. Means either one of them can sign these bonds, but Ebony can't do it until she's 18.
Okay.
Yes.
And Jawan can't do it until he's 18. Other than that, these are
That's fine.
your
Long as the
children's
pedophile
bonds.
don't have it.
Perfect. We've just resolved this case. Give her the bonds.
Whatever.
Mr. Alexander, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You don't have control of that.
Why is that excused?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Keck versus Soleil. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Barbara Keck is suing her daughter's friend, 19-year-old receptionist Amanda Soleil, for causing her car to be towed and impounded.
Miss Keck, the defendant was living with your family.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
I assume she was a friend of your daughter's?
Yes.
You allowed her to use one of your cars. It was an older car. She had run into some transportation problems. She relied on her boyfriend, according to your complaint, for transportation. I assume this is boyfriend Jeff.
Yes.
Hi.
Right? And at some point, after a period of time, the car broke down.
Yes.
The car broke down at Jeff's place of employment.
Right.
The car was subsequently towed and impounded. You had considerable fees to get the car out of tow, and you believe that the defendant should be responsible for paying those fees.
Yes, I did.
She says the car was a piece of junk, basically.
I don't have a problem with that.
When did she come to live with your family?
I think it was in May, either early or latter part.
Why?
I understand that she and her mother weren't getting along, and her mother had asked her, just go on and live somewhere else.
What would make you take her into your house?
She's my daughter's friend and had been since senior in high school. They're both in college now. And she'd been over to the house and dinners and, proms and all that. So we were all good friends.
Did you charge her any rent?
No.
When did you give her the car to use?
Maybe early August.
Tell me about that.
She and Jeff were in a traffic accident, which totaled his truck. So, after they came over and they were at dinner at our house, I think, talking about things, and I said, well, how are you going to get around? And so we just decided, well, shoot, we've got this Mazda, we'll let her use it.
Now, You tell me what happened with the car and when.
After she gave it to use it, it was September 6th, and I was dropping Jeff off at work.
So we'd used it for a while. You used it for about a month.
For about a month, yes. And I dropped him off at work that morning, and as I was saying goodbye, it just died, and which is normal because the whole time I used it, it would stop at stoplights, just like she said, and this time it just died. I couldn't get it to click over or anything, so we pushed it back into a parking spot, and I said to him, well, I'm going to have a car anyway, so we might as well go buy a car now. So he used a company truck, took me home. I called in sick to work, and then I went to buy a car. And after I bought the car, I came home that day. It was about 4 o'clock, and I told Barbara, I said, Barbara, come look at what I bought. So I came out to the driveway, and I said, I bought a car. And she goes, well, what prompted you to do this? And I said, well, your car broke down today on the way taking Jeff to work. And she said, oh, I said, well, I left it at Jeff's work. And then she said that she would talk to her husband, Bernard, about it, and they would discuss what we would do about it when he comes home the next day.
I'm not ready for you yet.
Oh, okay.
And did you have another discussion with Barbara?
During the period of the next week, it just kind of came up off and on. Nobody really said anything. I worked full-time, and we never sat down and totally discussed it.
Well, instead of going and buying a new truck that day, why didn't you call a tow truck and have the car towed back home?
Like, I've never had a car towed on me before, and I really didn't know what to do.
Well, you knew enough to go and buy a car. You have to fill out forms, you have to take it to be registered, you have to go to motor vehicles, you have to get insurance, right? And to get a car towed, you have to pick up the phone and look in the yellow pages and find towing and call and say, come pick up the car, and would you please bring it back to my residence? Now, which one seems harder to you?
Probably buying the car.
Right. And the towing fees were $455.
Right. Well,
you explained to me, young lady, why you don't think you are responsible for that.
Well, I feel that because I feel because the car was in her name, and the day that it broke down, I did come home and I did let her know.
After you bought a new car?
Yeah. Well, at the time, that seemed like the right thing to do to me.
No, it seemed like the selfish thing to do.
Buying the car was my idea.
Excuse me?
Buying the car was my idea. I had the money saved up, and I just said, you know.
Is anybody talking to him? Are you still living at her house?
No.
You lived there for how long?
From June until early September.
3 months she didn't charge you any rent.
Right.
Not $50 a month, not $100 a month. I assume you ate breakfast there. You said you had some dinners there. Jeff came over and ate there. Did she charge you when Jeff came over and ate dinner?
No, she didn't.
Nice lady. And let you have a car. There's no issue. Where's the issue? Why are we here? It was your responsibility to bring the car home and say, now I've fulfilled my responsibility. It was given to me in the driveway. I've returned it to the driveway. You got it? And if he thinks that that's wrong, oh, I'm dying to hear from him.
You're dying. Okay.
Stand up!
She said, okay, when she gave us that car, it breaks down at stoplights. If you crash it, I don't care. Just don't get it stolen. Insurance doesn't cover that. If it breaks down, leave it. If it does this, does that, leave it. I don't care. The car's garbage. It's an 83 or 86, doesn't matter. It's got over 200,000
Sit down. This lady was very nice to you. Mr. Responsibility over here doesn't get it together as much as he should. You know, doesn't understand that as an adult you have certain responsibilities. You should understand that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $485. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 402 on the calendar in the matter of Hickey versus Deeks. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mr. and Mrs. Hickey, the defendant's son and your son were playing with BB guns. According to your complaint, the defendant's son shot your son in the mouth with a BB gun, causing his tooth to fall out. The dental bills for that amount to some $3,800, and you want the defendant and his father to be responsible for those bills. Which of the boys was shot in the mouth?
Jacob, the oldest one.
You. The defendant's position is that despite the fact that immediately after this incident he signed a note indicating he would be responsible for the bills, he signed that under some duress, and that he immediately recanted by sending you another letter indicating he would not pay for all the bills, and that as a matter of fact his son was also shot with a BB, albeit in his rear end. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When did this incident happen with the BB guns? And would you stand up here, sir? When did it happen?
November 19th of 2001.
Where did it happen?
In my backyard. It's on the side of the house is actually where he got shot.
Were you at home at the time?
No.
Whose BB guns were they?
We owned one, and Mike owned the other.
When did you buy your son a BB gun?
It was my mother's, and she gave it to my son for a present.
Why?
He just used it to, he had targets that he used to shoot and shoot signs, and it actually was my smallest son's gun, Eric's gun.
That's pretty stupid.
Oh, we have targets and we shoot all the time.
Well, so?
Plus we're hunters and stuff like that.
Sir, what is your first name?
Jacob.
Jacob, did you shoot the defendant with the BB gun and it hit him in the behind?
Yes, but it was by accident. I didn't mean
I
to
don't
shoot.
care whether it's by accident or on purpose. I assume that you wouldn't do anything on purpose to hit him with the
No.
gun. Is that right?
Yeah.
You were playing around.
Yeah.
And you shot him in the behind.
Yeah, by accident.
Was that before or after he shot you in the face?
Before.
Was it immediately before?
No, it was like about 5 or 10 minutes before.
So when you shot him in the behind, did he say anything to you?
No, he just like, he didn't mind. He like 5 or 10 minutes after, we were all pals.
You were all pals. So he was friendly to you after you shot him in the behind. And it was an accident.
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me how it came about that you got shot in the face.
Well, me and Mike were just like, they're hanging around, and I went to talk to my little brother.
Don't start from the beginning.
Okay.
We're not going back to Noah's Ark. You shot him in the behind by accident. Yes. Then you were playing around for another 10 minutes.
Yes.
Immediately before you got shot in the mouth, what were you doing?
Before I got shot in the head, I was hiding behind this board, and I put down the BB gun.
What were you hiding behind the board for?
To hide from getting shot, because I couldn't run to my house. I was afraid of.
Was he aiming at you?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Shh.
Excuse me.
He was aiming at you?
Yes.
What did you say to him when he was aiming at you?
I yelled stop like at least maybe 5 or 10 times.
Did he say why he was aiming at you?
No.
Were you playing at this time?
No.
What were you doing? You were being serious?
Yes, he was being serious. I think he was trying to either get back at me for accidentally shooting him.
When you say you accidentally shot him and you hit his body,
yeah.
Where were you aiming?
At the ground. It ricocheted off the ground and hit him.
That's not a target.
No.
Sir, I'm not speaking to you unless you were home, right? So you were shooting around his feet?
Yeah, it was like he was maybe a few inches from the ground to where I was pointing the gun at.
But he had turned around. His back was towards you, sir,
yes.
Because if you hit him in the behind, that means that he was moving away from you.
Yes, I think he was looking at his gun. I think he was loading his gun with bullets.
Just a second. So he was loading his gun with bullets, and you shot.
Yeah, well, I was checking the safety, and I pulled the trigger, and the safety wasn't on the way in, and it ricochets off the ground and hits him.
All right. Now, Mr. Deeks, I want you to tell me how it came about, sir, that you hit him in the mouth with a BB.
Okay. That day, the bus missed us right off the bat, so we stayed at his house, and we were, like, playing video games. We ordered a pizza, and so then about half an hour later, after we watched a movie, we went out in his backyard and started shooting at trees and stuff with his BB gun. And then he said, let's go down and get my BB gun. So we walked down to my house, and on the way down to my house, that's when he shot me, when we were walking and I was walking in front of him. So it hurt, and so I just got up and we kept walking to my house, and we got my pellets, because we were like shooting at birds and stuff. So then we walked back to his house, and he said, let's play one pump war, which is you pump the gun one time and you shoot at each other. And we were at least 100 feet away from each other, like a big field. And he
Just a minute, does one pump war sound familiar to you, sir?
No, I never said that.
Go ahead.
And then he started shooting at me, and Eric was with me by the road, and pellets were like flying by our heads and everything, and Eric said, let me shoot the gun. So I said,
That's
okay.
a lie.
And I let Eric use the gun, and Eric shot the gun and shot Jake. Like the second shot he shot, it hit Jake. And I tried to cover for his brother and say that I was the one that shot it, and he repeated, no, that was my brother, and you didn't shoot it. So, and then he was yelling at his brother. So then he immediately after that started shooting back at us and almost hit Eric. So I told Eric, go away before you get hit. So then he was hiding behind boards with one of my friends, Robbie, and I couldn't see anything, so I just took a shot, and all of a sudden I walk up there and he's out in the middle of the yard, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, you shot me in my face. And I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And then he said I did it on purpose, and there's no way I could shoot it with a $30 BB gun 100 feet away.
And for him to shoot me in my tooth, he would have to directly aim at my face.
Your Honor, Eric can tell you, because he was there through the whole thing, he can tell you what happened, too.
Mm-hmm.
He shot my little brother, too, in the head.
And so
You shot him.
No,
You shot your own brother.
Shh. Neither of you were there. You shot him. The first person who got hit with a BB was him. Put your hand down. Listen, when parents permit their children to have instruments that can cause damage to each other, they make a big mistake, and then they come and they cry. Somebody, first of all, should have been home in your house to ensure the fact that if your son missed the school bus, somebody drove him to school so that he wasn't home all day being unsupervised. Did your younger son miss the school bus too?
No.
Did not, so he went to school that day.
That's right.
So that they were playing around all day with these BB guns until Eric came home. Is that right?
That's right.
And then Eric was out in the field with them as well. Is that right, Eric? Stand up here. Is that right, young man? You were out there too?
Yes.
Did you ever have a BB gun in your hand?
No.
You never held a BB gun?
Nope.
Just your brother and his friend?
Yep.
Now I want you to point someplace in this room. Let's say your brother was standing where I'm sitting at the time that he got hit in the face. I want you to point someplace in the room and show me where this young man was standing when he shot him in the face. Look around the room, and if you tell me that there's no place in the room, that's fine too. Look all around the room.
Where was he standing, Eric? Where was Mike standing when he shot Jacob? How far?
Nowhere.
What?
Nowhere in this room.
Nowhere in this room, so it was further. Was it twice as far?
Right.
3 times as far?
3 times.
3 times as far as anywhere in this room. Is that right?
Yep.
Sit down, Eric.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 15-year-old Jacob Hickey says neighbor 13-year-old Mike Deeks shot him in the mouth with a BB gun. Mike says Jacob shot him in the behind.
So you believe, Mr. and Mrs. Hickey, that the defendant should be totally responsible for any injuries caused to your son?
Yes.
Wrong. Wrong. You are suggesting that Mr. Deeks purposely, from 3 times the distance of this courtroom, aimed and shot at your son successfully, getting him in the tooth.
I don't know if Eric understood that question.
It wasn't that far.
Just a second. You weren't there, and that's what he said.
Well, I know where he said
Just
he was.
Just a second. You weren't there, and that's what he said.
He's on probation for violence in the first place, so he is susceptible to
That
this
has
stuff.
nothing to do with this case.
Your
Your
Honor,
Honor.
I'm
In
off
fact,
probation.
he used that to bribe me into signing the note in the first place, and
All
I
right,
would
now,
pay the bill.
let's get to the note.
You begged us not to
Immediate-
call the
hey,
cops.
Mr. Hickey,
Right.
Mr. Hickey,
Okay, ma'am.
listen to me, sir. But for the fact that your son had a BB gun that day, you wouldn't be here today.
True.
Now, there came a time, according to what I've read in these papers, that the defendant, Mr. Deeks, signed a note.
Mm-hmm.
Can I see the note, please?
Sure.
Now, I'd like you to tell me the circumstances of this note. When was it written?
It was written that evening that it happened.
Did you go to his house, or did he come to your
Brian
house?
did. Brian went to his house.
You went to his house?
Yes.
What did you say to him when you went to his house?
He was asking me not to call the cops because his son was on probation for breaking and entering in the house
Yes.
in my neighborhood.
Yes.
And
Just talk to me.
right. So I said, I don't have a problem with not calling the cops, but I said, I need the medical bills to be paid for. I said, we're not, we don't have a ton of money to pay for this stuff. And he agreed.
Okay. And give me your version of what Mr. Hickey said to you when he came over.
Basically,
No, not basically. What did he say to you, Mr.
okay,
Deeks?
he said that Michael had instigated his shooting, that Michael had shot his son. So I signed
did
the
he say?
note. Of course, I was scared for my son. I was
No.
scared for his son.
What did he say to you, sir, with regard to calling the police?
He said.
Now, what did he say
said
to
if
you?
I would agree to pay all the medical bills and to pay pain and suffering for his son, then he would not call the police.
All right, and then there came a time where you had second thoughts. You had an opportunity to speak to your son.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that you wrote him a letter.
Yes, I have that here.
Can I see the letter that you wrote to him? I want to see when you wrote the letter to him. Mr. Hickey, once you received this letter, you were advised that the defendant did not intend to pay for the entire dental bill for your son, but thought it was only reasonable that he should pay for half. Did you go to the police?
That night I called the police.
And I had the report.
Because also one thing, I always taught my boys to keep their guns down because that's proper gun safety when you're not firing your gun to keep it pointed away and down. And also, Mike was the one that instigated the shooting on my son. My son did not shoot back at him. Okay, as far as
You weren't there, and you don't know. Just understand this, Mr. Hickey. Despite the fact that you've given your son all kinds of lessons on gun safety, the first person that was hit was the defendant.
Right.
Just a second, by your son. Now, I understand from this letter, Mr. Deeks, that you took some photographs
Yes, ma'am.
of the injury to your son behind. I'd like to see them.
He doesn't want you to, but...
Well, that's too... that comes under the cat...
That was through blue jeans and boxer shorts.
Getting a two-shot out is a lot worse than getting shot in the butt.
So?
And a lot worse damage.
So? They're two stupid kids. He started it, and he finished it better. I think both of them were probably accidents.
Jake, his was not an accident.
Well, you may say it's
Also,
not. Yeah, can I see the dental bills, please? You folks just don't get it.
Do you want the police report?
I don't care about the police report. The police did not arrest him for that. You know why the police didn't arrest him for that? You want to know why? Because your son shot him first. That's why.
Miss Judy, also, he shot my son 4 times, shot my little son 3 times,
can tell you that.
and shot my dog 2 or 3 times also.
Purposely.
Purposely.
Did you take the BB gun away from your son?
That was the same day.
Yes, and plus I got his BB gun and destroyed it the same day.
And they
as
both
happened
have
to.
this gun still
Your Honor,
in their possession.
his little son and a kid named Sean were walking down the street with my BB gun like a month later, and with holding a pigeon in their hand. And I talked to Josh, his littlest son, and Josh
Don't tell me
said-
what Josh told you. I think that you're both way out of line, and I think that, listen to me, I think that the defendant is being more than reasonable with you when he says to you, I believe that I should be responsible for half of the dental bills and that you should be responsible for half of the dental bills for your son. And if you don't think so, then I'm not going to spend any more of my very valuable time trying to convince you. Now, these 2 boys were engaged in play. There is no indication that the defendant was a marksman, any more than your son being a marksman. You 3 parents,
What about him
both
shooting
very
my other
foolish.
kids? I mean,
I'm not interested in him shooting your other kids. All I know is I have photographs that the first person who was injured as a result of this BB play was him.
it shows he intentionally shot my other kids.
No, it doesn't.
And they were not armed. So,
You know,
okay,
get over it.
we know where his heart...
Get over it. Get over it. You're being thick. You allowed your children to have weapons that could cause injury, both of you. Therefore, you are both responsible, especially since, put your hand down and get your hand out of your pocket, especially since your son, whether by accident or on purpose, and it certainly wasn't by accident because he aimed at the ground as the defendant was walking away. He didn't aim in the air. He aimed, according to his own statement, at the ground at his feet, and it ricocheted. Now, that's his statement. That's not teaching him how to handle a gun. You handle a gun, you want to shoot at targets. According to you, they only shoot at targets. That's not a target. The back of his feet isn't a target.
Your Honor,
Don't speak. He acted stupid. He was stupid. You were all stupid for not making sure that your sons were in school that day. What?
Well, first off, with my youngest boy, I mean, they catch the bus at 7, he catches at 6:30. I was still home. So apparently, we're not stupid or neglected as far as parents because they must have snuck off in the woods on their own before we even left.
You're supposed to know where your children are. Then if they both snuck off, they were doing the wrong thing. Both of them. And the first one to get a gun was your son. Because then they walked back to his house to get his. Right?
Yes.
So now let me see the dental bills.
He did pay me $59 already.
It's $160.
No, you gave me $59 cash.
I gave you $60 and a $100 check.
Yeah, that was for pain and suffering for Jacob.
Don't give me pain and suffering.
Well, that's what
what
he
they gave
did.
me.
Well, I don't know whether
that
he
was
gave you,
him.
whether he gave you money for pain and suffering. I'm not giving any
He
money
did
for
that on
pain and
his
suffering.
own.
$159 he gave you so far towards the dental bills.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Don't speak.
59.
Your father's going to get fed up with taking care